Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of Question Period. Today is November 21st, 2024. Dude, I say the date every single day, every single morning, and I just feel like every blink I do, we skip a week. Welcome back to another stream. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage y'all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. Guys, I'm sorry I was late. I noticed there was over 300 people in the waiting lobby before the stream started. That's because I was planning on how to spend all of my money. I'm rich. We're rich, actually, because Justin Trudeau solved poverty here in Canada. It's a phenomenal day for Canadians. For everybody who's making under $150,000 a year, wait for it, we get not one, not two, but $250 GST rebate. I know, right? That's going to solve everything. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? I was counting my pennies, even though they're extinct. I was counting my dollars and I was thinking, man, I can't wait to just spend it on one grocery run. Thank you, Justin Trudeau, they, them, for continuously screwing us over. Dude, you're trying to give more money to people. The simplest way is to cut the tax. Instead of a $250 rebate, we spend more than $250 on a carbon tax in like a couple of months. Some people in a day, depending if they have a small business. It's just bananas. It's absolutely bananas. So we're going to be taking a look at that, folks. Sorry for the wait. I was actually just catching myself up on this announcement. Holy crap, you can't make this up. Justin Trudeau, what a freaking guy. Here, we're going to get right into it, folks. You guys ready? It's going to be one hell of a day. So we're going to take a look at Justin Trudeau, the announcement, and then we're going to take a look at Pierre Poilievre's response, and we're going to maybe try and squeeze in Jagmeet's response before question period begins. Oh, yeah, I forgot to say, for those that are, watching the live streams, look, I appreciate it. This is a phenomenal comedy. This is a phenomenal comedy. This is a phenomenal. Is my brain melting? Community. Whoa. Sorry, I was busy counting all the money that Justin Trudeau is giving me. French is my first language, so I'm sorry. Sometimes English crosses its wires. This is a phenomenal economy. What the hell is wrong with me? Community. Dude, what the heck is wrong with me today? You know what the problem is? Is normally I've got my big, I saw someone said Jasper's getting a big bucket of coffee. This is what I'm stuck with today because my bucket of coffee it stayed on the kitchen counter and it didn't get cleaned, and it's kind of gross. So I threw it in the dishwasher this morning. The dishwasher didn't get turned on last night, so I threw it on this morning. So I'm lagging behind mentally. I'm almost dumbed down to a liberal IQ. So bear with me today, please. For those that are part of the economy, whatever the hell I was trying to say, the community. We stream question period. It's a phenomenal experience. It's lots of fun. We have lots of laughs. We have a great time. And that's not just me saying it. That's you guys saying it. But what I've been trying to do afterwards is I've been trying to stream other things afterwards, right? Other news stories that I would, use in maybe different videos or whatever it is, relevant things that are happening. So I've tested for a couple of days. Now the transition from question period to that other stuff is a little tricky because we sit here for a couple of hours because we start before question period, and then I got to get up, I got to get my coffee, I got to pee, I got to put pants on, take my pants off, whatever it is, we don't know, right? I'll reveal at the end of question period if I'm wearing pants or not. I'll reveal after question period, but nonetheless, I got a surprise for you guys right after question period. So I highly encourage everyone that, just wants to stay in the loop, stick around after question period because we do have some stuff lined up, and I guarantee you will be entertained. We have a phenomenal economy. We have a phenomenal economy. community. That's great. That's what I'm trying to say. Bear with me today, man. It is hard. It is hard not having 2 liters of coffee in the morning. All right, let's take a look at what Justin Trudeau is saying here with his announcement of making Canadians rich with a GST rebate. Here we go.
To do even more.
Programs that we're delivering, whether it's dental care, whether it's pharmacare with free insulin or free prescription contraceptives, whether it's more spaces and $10 a day childcare that is saving families thousands of dollars, whether it's dental care that's taken huge pressures off of primarily seniors' budgets, but also others. These are things that are making a difference. But at the same time, Canadians are still struggling to get by. These elements have taken off pressures, but there is more to do. As the holidays approach, families, especially parents, are particularly worried. Canadians have been through a lot. They work hard. We see that. We've been able to get through the past couple of years. Everyone had to tighten their belts a little bit. And now we're going to be able to give a tax break for all Canadians. For 2 months, starting December 14th, we're going to remove the GST, HST from groceries. 100% of groceries.
Wow.
All groceries.
Wow.
We're going to remove the GST from restaurant meals, takeouts, fast food. Removing the GST from beer and wine. Removing the GST for essentials like kids' clothing, footwear, diapers, and toys.
I gotta say, guys, this new version of Justin Trudeau, he's really doing what's best for Canadians. Are you kidding me? This is phenomenal. He's the man that fired a metaphorical IMCB at a ship. And we're on that ship. And now the ship has been struck with an ICBM and we're all sinking. And Justin Trudeau has the audacity to come by with life vests and rescue boats and say, guys, I'm here to rescue you. It's okay. It's okay. I understand you're drowning. I understand you're sinking. It's okay. I'm here to rescue you. You know, if he keeps this up, he may just very well change his name to Poilievre. Dude, he's cutting the tax. He's cutting the tax on things. What the heck is wrong with him? He's literally going against everything that he has set out to do. And now we're supposed to kiss his feet and say thank you? Buddy, that's not how this works. You are ruining our lives, and then you shot us. You shot us in the stomach. We're bleeding out of the stomach. And now you're coming by with a Band-Aid kit going, it's okay, I've got you. I've got you. Come on, dude. Come on. No one's falling for this.
All tax-free, removing the GST and HST. For 2 months, Canadians are going to get a real break on everything they do. We also know that
and the funniest part is it's not forever. No GST for 2 months on restaurant meals. Hurry up, guys. Go eat at restaurants. You don't have to pay GST. But after 61 days, you better go home and eat your food. You can't go to restaurants anymore because the GST is going to be applicable. What the heck kind of parameters is that? Who put this guy in charge? This doesn't make any sense at all.
there's more we need to do, particularly for working Canadians. So if you worked in 2023 and earned up to $150,000, we're going to be sending you a check for $250 in just a few months. Our government can't set prices at checkout, but...
Okay, let me get this straight. If you worked in 2023 on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, and you had Fridays off, and you worked half days on Saturdays, and your first name starts with a K, and your last name ends with an E, and your birthday makes you between a Sagittarius and a Capricorn, then and only then will the government supply you with $25 a week, but for like 2 months, right? Am I understanding that? Like the parameters are just like so zoomed in and so nitpicky. This guy he's lost his mind. This doesn't make any sense. This isn't leadership. This is, I don't have a word for this. I wish I was quick like Andrew Scheer to take out my phone and look at my thesaurus, but I'm not that guy, right? And Justin Trudeau is not that guy either. Like, I have no idea what the hell he's trying to do.
We can put more money in people's pockets. The working Canadians rebate of $250, which will be sent to people in April. He's going to give people that relief they need. And the tax break over the next 2 months is going to help on the costs of everything as we approach the holidays, as we get into the new year. These are things that recognize that people are squeezed, and we're there to help. Money that will help people buy the things they need and save up for the things they want. And the final comment is that I really hope that all parties in the House get behind this so we can pass this quickly, so that Canadians can get this relief as soon as December 14th. Merci beaucoup tout le monde d'être ici.
Thank you,
Looking forward
everyone,
to
for
taking
being
questions
here.
in a moment, but for now,
I hope people support my idea to axe the tax, but only for 2 months. Dude, this guy is literally taking everything from Pierre Poilievre and somehow making it worse. Like, you should be doing the opposite. Whatever Pierre is suggesting, if you want to copy Pierre and try to farm voters, then you should be doing double what Pierre is doing, not half or a quarter or a tenth. Am I missing something here? Because this feels absolutely insane. I feel like he's trying to check a box instead of actually doing good. And it's making me feel a little bit crazy. I don't question my sanity too often, but whenever Justin Trudeau speaks and tries to implement, like, look at his face. It's that, and look at her face. It's like we should be thanking them for pennies. I mean, this is nuts. This is how is this Canada? Who voted for this? I feel crazy in this country. I feel crazy, but at least we can all feel crazy together. Or I'm crazy and I'm just making videos about the fact that I'm going crazy.
I'm going to pass it over to someone who's been working very hard to deliver this support for Canadians. Chrystia Freeland, our Finance Minister.
Thanks, Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is a little bit taller than I am.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, I want to start by saying, buongiorno Giancarlo, grazie
Hello,
mille per
Giancarlo.
l'accoglio. It is really wonderful to be here at Vince's, which is a local institution, a place that is trusted and I'm going to say beloved by families in this community. Ça me fait plaisir d'être ici.
I'm happy to be here.
Au cœur de
At the heart
cette communauté,
of this community.
si important,
That's so important.
si
Yeah, we'll skip the French stuff. My bad.
proche, and de la semaine, window. Well, and it was such a valuable window into the life of this community and also into the lives of Canadians. And what Giancarlo told us, you can see what has been happening in the Canadian economy at the checkout counter here at Vince's. He talked about how things were really hard for Canadians at the beginning of this year, that, inflation was coming down, but interest rates were still high. And that was really biting in the pocketbook. And he saw it with what people were able to afford to buy here. One thing that Giancarlo told us that I really loved is he said he could almost measure the trajectory of interest rates by what people were doing at the cash register here. And as rates have come down, people have been coming back into Vince's and have been able to spend a little bit more. So that story from Giancarlo makes him my favorite person of the day. Grazie mille. That's exactly what we know Canadians need. Canadians needed that relief. And the good news is, now that inflation is under control, it has been within the Bank of Canada's target range for 10 months in a row. That has allowed the bank to bring down rates, and that has created the space for us to provide a little more relief for hard-working Canadians. And so today we're announcing two really important forms of support. The first you're going to see at the cash register here at Vince's and at grocery stores, at restaurants, at toy stores across the country. This is going to be about giving just a little bit of extra help to families over the holidays from the middle of December to the middle of February. We are going to have a GST holiday on all prepared foods. So right now, some foods are not subject to GST, but prepared foods are. Things like a rotisserie chicken. Things like, if you have had a really busy day and you have to feed your kids at the end of the day, maybe you're tempted to go to the grocery store and pick up a prepared meal, but it's expensive. And on top of the extra cost of a prepared meal, you have to pay the GST. And Giancarlo has been telling us, he sees young working families wanting to buy those prepared meals, but sometimes they can't quite afford it. Lifting the GST is going to make it that little bit easier. And it comes just in time for the holidays, when people are going to want to be entertaining, are going to want to have people over. So prepared foods, lifting the GST. Restaurant meals, lifting the GST. That's going to include beer and wine, no GST. And Giancarlo does sell beer and wine here. So you're going to be able to do that at your grocery stores, your gas stations, where beer and wine are available. And it's the holidays. So we're also lifting the GST on a carefully chosen basket of holiday gifts. Kids' clothes, diapers, car seats, kids' shoes. It includes things like like toques, like mitts for your kids, scarves. Also on toys for your kids. Also on books and periodicals. So this is really about saying to Canadians, things have been hard. They are getting better. Our economy really looks like it is having a soft landing from the COVID recession. And this is about making life a little bit easier because we have the space now to do it. Le deuxième annonce, c'est
The second announcement.
It is hard to listen to her talk. I think that they think that we should be kissing their feet from this. I think that they've got some delusions, maybe mental health issues, and that they actually believe that these tiny little Band-Aid solutions are helping Canadians. Look, I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that, yes, removing any amount of costs off of Canadians is beneficial. Absolutely it is. But for 2 months, why not 3 months? Why did you decide for the holidays for 2 months? That's crazy. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why not do it forever? That's craziness. Hey, I have an announcement, folks. You at your job, you get a raise. You've been doing such a good job, you actually will get more money for 60 days. So whatever your salary is broken down into days, you're going to get a 10% raise, but only for 2 months. That sounds freaking insane when you just put it in that context. So removing a tax for 2 months also sounds just equally insane. But you don't have to take my word on it. Pierre Poilievre actually talks about it, and that's what we're going to take a look at right now. Here we go.
Everything is broken. And let's face it, the NDP Liberal coalition is back together. They've doubled housing costs, doubled the debt, doubled food bank use, doubled gun crime. With Jagmeet and Justin, it is double trouble for Canadians. Everything is broken. Life costs more. In fact, food prices have risen 36% faster in Canada than in the United States, a gap that opened up after the application of the carbon tax on the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. Now we have 2 million people lined up at food banks. This week we learned there has been a record increase in child poverty over the last year, all while Trudeau and the NDP made grand promises about child care. 400,000 kids are forced to eat at food banks. 1 in 4 kids are not getting enough food, according to the government's own data. In fact, scurvy is making a comeback. Housing costs have doubled. Rent has doubled. Mortgage payments have doubled. Down payments have all doubled. And Trudeau's Housing Accelerator Fund, by his own admission, has not built a single solitary new home. 1,400 homeless encampments are now scattered across Ontario, 35 of them in Halifax alone. Our economy is cratering. It's dropped in per capita terms more than any other G7 country. Our per capita GDP is smaller than it was 10 years ago, even though during the same time the American per capita GDP has grown by 18%. Median incomes in our two countries were equal 10 years ago. Now they're $22,000 American bigger south of the border, where $500 billion net of our investment has poured to build pipelines, factories, businesses, and pay American paychecks with Canadian investment dollars after 9 years of Trudeau and the NDP Liberal tax increases and inflationary deficits. And the worst is yet to come. Trudeau and the NDP have voted for and legislated the quadrupling of the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre, which will stop our trucks from delivering parts to factories, clothing to stores, food to grocery shelves. It will mean billions more will pour across the border into the United States, millions of jobs will be lost, and a big smile will appear on Donald Trump's face as he picks up the phone from the Oval Office to call Canadian factories, trucking companies, mines, to tell them to go south 100 kilometers where there is no carbon tax and other taxes are dropping. The only thing worse than President Trump's tariffs are Prime Minister Trudeau's taxes. It's clear why Trump wants to create American jobs. It's not clear why Justin Trudeau wants to help him do it. And what do we have today? Well, Jagmeet Singh has broken his word yet again. Remember, Jagmeet Singh said the deal was ripped up. Well, now he's taped it right back together. Despite all the poverty and misery and the record gap between rich and poor the NDP crows so much about, they're now keeping the government in power that did it. You know, he said that he would not support Justin Trudeau anymore, and now he's doing just that until at least his pension kicks in next February. Jagmeet Singh has sold out Canadians to sign on with Trudeau again. And today what we have is a 2-month temporary tax trick that will not make up for the permanent quadrupling carbon tax on heat, housing, food, and fuel, and all to save Justin's job and Jagmeet's pension. Ironically, in just a few months, Trudeau and the NDP plan to raise taxes on all the same items they claim they're giving you a break on, directly through the carbon tax. They'll be raising taxes on heat, on gas, on everything that comes in a truck. If you got it, a truck brought it. And it will be more expensive with this carbon tax. They even plan to jack up liquor taxes in April, while they claim to be taking them off for the next 2 months.
Wow.
That sounds like a trick. A trick. Are you fooled? You don't look like you're fooled. You can see the trick. Look, he's even he's laughing. Nobody believes Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh after they've impoverished our people and made life worse off. The good news is there will be a carbon tax election, and Canadians will choose between The costly NDP Liberal carbon tax coalition that tax your food, punish your work, double your housing cost, and unleash crime and chaos in your community. Or common sense Conservatives who will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. But we have solutions, and we're offering them today. We're calling for an alternative, which is this: permanently axe the carbon tax. Permanently take the GST off new homes to save people up to $50,000 on a new home purchase and stimulate 30,000 extra home builds every single year. A permanent tax cut that will boost our economy. Cutting taxes on work, savings, investment, energy, and making stuff in Canada. In other words, let's bring home more paychecks and production to our country. More importantly, let's bring home Canada's promise. A very simple promise that brought us all here, and it is this: that hard work gets you a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods, a country where anyone from anywhere can do anything, the freest country on earth. Let's bring it home.
Wow. That is a leader that I want leading this country. Are you kidding me? That's the most common sense. I feel crazy. I feel like I'm going insane. I feel like there's something wrong with my head, with my comprehension of things when Justin Trudeau and other Liberals speak. The speech that Trudeau gave earlier about how he's doing us such a solid with a big shit-eating grin on his face going, guys, we're making life affordable for you. Go vote for us because we're helping you. Ignore the fact that we've caused the problem because we're helping you. It's that smile with the gaslighting, that combination. You know the type. It's just like, what the hell's wrong with you? If that happened from anybody else, people's fists would be clenching, going, come on, and that cartoon swing up where you swing your arm around, say it again. Come on, you son of a bitch. Say it again. It's so annoying. And then Pierre talks, and it's like, guys, I'm with you. Life doesn't make any sense under Trudeau and the Liberals. 2 months of cutting the tax? What the hell is that? We cut the tax forever. We make life affordable for everybody forever. And I saw somebody in the comments say that this is only for people that work, that make under $150,000 a year. So people that are retired, people that are on a pension, I don't know if that income counts. People that are on like disability, that are on EI, that doesn't actually count. So it's a discriminatory, weird ass move. It doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense.
Vous ce matin, est-ce que vous avez quelque chose pour rassurer les écologistes?
No.
I'm gonna skip to the English part here.
Check the page.
Don't worry, folks. We're gonna get to question period here. We're just gonna finish this up.
NDP Liberal press release.
You will vote against this, and if this is brought against us, you will vote against this measure if it's brought in the House of Commons?
We haven't seen the measure. We've seen his press releases. And if we believed NDP Liberal press releases, then we might have been tricked, as many in the media were, when they believed the rhetoric on the carbon tax. Remember, they said the carbon tax would make you better off. And here we are with the food professor showing that food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the U.S., a gap that opened up as the tax started applying here on the farmers and truckers who bring us our food. And of course, then the Parliamentary Budget Officer came out years after all of you wrongly reported and regurgitated Liberal talking points on the carbon tax. He came out and said, no, 100% of middle-class Canadians are worse off under the carbon tax, and 60% of all Canadians are worse off. So you're asking me if I'm going to vote for today's press release and press conference. I don't vote for press releases and press conferences. Canadians cannot eat press or live in press releases or press conferences. Let's see what they put before us. But I've got a better idea. Here's what I propose. When they come forward, put in the bill 2 ideas that will help forever. Axe the carbon tax, axe the GST on new homes.
This is the way. This is the way. Like, if you're going to try and help people, make it forever. Why for 2 months? Come on. Like, that's not even, if he said 12 months, at least it would have been like, oh, at least he's trying to help people until the next election. But just for the holidays, for Christmas, can you even say Christmas anymore in Canada? Or is that discriminatory? Like, what the hell's going on? Why do I feel like this man on screen right now, Pierre Poilievre, is the only politician or party leader that's actually got a brain and can think for common sense. Like it makes me feel nuts that there's only one politician who's actually speaking like the truth and common sense. All the others they're nuts and they're trying to gaslight an entire country.
Qu'est-ce que vous dites aux députés conservateurs qui n'aiment pas votre contrôle sur le caucus?
Oh, we're gonna skip the French. Sorry.
Not all.
Sur l'annonce d'aujourd'hui.
Contributes to inflation. Spending. He's
In the new year. You've said before.
Sur l'annonce d'aujourd'hui.
What about the part of the checks that are going out to Canadians in the new year? You've said before that when the government prints money, it's inflationary. What do you think about those checks? Do you support the idea of directly returning money to Canadians?
Sorry, that was Justin Trudeau who said that. We put out the quote today.
Yes.
Where he said
You've said it too.
He
in the
said his
context of
spending.
inflationary
He said
spending.
He said his deficit spending contributes to inflation. Trudeau said every dollar he spends brings an extra dollar of inflation. And that's just a mathematical reality, right? If you have a fixed number of goods and services and you increase the number of dollars as Justin Trudeau's deficits have done, then all you do is bid up the cost of all the goods people buy, and that's why 25% of kids are in poverty, why record 2 million people are lined up at food banks, scurvy's making a comeback, housing costs have doubled. That's the misery that you get with massive socialist money printing, and what I'm proposing is a common sense alternative. Let's cap spending, cut waste, bring down deficits, interest rates, and inflation. And by the way, let's axe the carbon tax and axe the GST on new homes.
There you go.
What exactly do you mean by that when you say you're going to fight fire with fire? Are you talking about tit-for-tat tariffs, or are you talking about something else?
Well, right now we have two leaders that want to charge Canadians more. You know, President Trump has proposed tariffs on Canadians. Justin Trudeau is proposing taxes on Canadians. It's clear why President Trump wants to create jobs for Americans. It's not clear why Justin Trudeau is so determined to help do it. Trudeau's capital gains tax hike is going to kill 60,000 Canadian jobs. Blocking energy and resource projects is going to send more production south of the border, as it already has. In the first 14 years of this decade, of this century, we had more American investment in Canada. In the last 9 years, $500 billion Canadian dollars have left for the U.S. more than have come back. That's Canadian investment dollars creating American jobs. My approach will be this. We will cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and making stuff in Canada. We will greenlight massive resource projects to bring home production, and we will fight for an end to the softwood lumber tariffs and the discriminatory Buy America rules that Justin Trudeau capitulated on and let the Americans, our for American friends, keep in place. So we're going to have a prime minister who will.
There you go. That's it. That's the whole speech. That's the whole speech. And that's the guy I want leading this country, because everything else that Justin Trudeau has said is just, it's bananas, man. Like putting a restriction on how long you're going to cut the tax for. Why not add a height restriction? If you have to be between 5'7" and 6'1", and anything outside of those parameters, you're too short for a tax cut and you're too tall for a tax cut. Like, come on, where does the ridiculous end? That's insane. That's absolutely insane. All right, we're gonna get into question period now, folks. So buckle up. Make sure you get yourself your coffee. Make sure you get yourself situated. There is more to it. You got Jagmeet Singh who also commented on it, but for lack of time, for sake of time, we're gonna get to that stuff after the stream. Like I said, there's a surprise after. There's a surprise. There is a surprise. All right, here we go, folks. Let's get into this stuff here. Let me just make sure it's live.
Which have become known as the catch and release and hug and thug policies of this Liberal NDP government. Although the leader of the NDP claims to have ripped up his contract with the Liberals, he supports these soft on crime policies that have led to a 75% increase in violence, crimes against women. Every day the Prime Minister remains in power, it is because of the leader of the NDP who voted to support the carbon tax 24 times rather than to support women.
The honourable member from Regina Leuven.
Saskatchewan is the breadbasket of Canada. We have the food, fertilizer, and fuel the world needs. But after 9 years of the carbon tax loving coalition, something has changed. Parents are skipping meals, and mothers are adding water to their children's milk. In fact, between 2019 and 2024, food bank usage in my province increased by 42.1%. The primary causes? The growing cost of housing and food inflation. By 2030, the NDP Liberals will quadruple their carbon tax, driving up costs on everything even more. Canadians know this Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Now they see what that cost is. Across Canada, 30% of food bank users are children. In Saskatchewan, that number jumps to 39%. 39% are children. The SPNDP loved the carbon tax and voted to keep it 24 times. The result? Taxes are up, costs are up, crime is up, time is up. Canadians want and deserve a carbon tax election so they can kick these champagne socialists to the curb.
Yes. The honourable member from Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow is National Housing Day. The City of Richmond Hill and my great riding of Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, received a...
Could I ask all members, please, to keep their voices down so that we can hear the statements from members? It's the honourable member from Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tomorrow is National Housing Day. The City of Richmond Hill and my great riding of Aurora Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill, received a $31 million investment through the Housing Accelerator Fund. I advocated for this as their MP because they had presented an ambitious housing plan backed by a solid record. Mayor David West calls this funding essential to remove barriers and empower builders to create the housing Richmond Hill needs. But now, Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition says he would cut this vital program as part of his so-called housing plan, a plan that benefits those who could already afford to buy a home and the developers building new homes. It provides no support to municipalities to ensure that builders can and will build the homes that are needed. He has even barred his MPs from advocating for housing funds for their ridings. This is reprehensible. Our most important role as MPs is to represent our constituents and advocate them, but Conservative MPs are being muzzled and told not to do this. Mr. Speaker, tomorrow on National Housing Day, I exhort all Conservative MPs to stand up to your leader. Advocate for your ridings and help your municipalities get the support they need to provide the housing your constituents need. Thank you.
The honourable member from Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, I'm rising today to recognize the incredible work of members.
Where's their pins? She's not wearing a pin.
And to echo
the chick next to her with that.
I met with IBEW Local 230, and they oppose the government's decision to end the apprenticeship
that dumb face
completion grants. They are set to expire in March, while apprentices across the country are facing rising costs. Without this support, housing and infrastructure projects could face delays as these workers do vital work across Canada. IBEW is also urging the federal government to increase all student bursaries, which have remained stagnant for almost 25 years.
Hey folks, if you haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you took the time to smash the like button and sub to the channel.
Value and impact on the Canadian economy is monumental.
It's free to do.
Canada's future.
It's tax deductible for all I care.
We must remove barriers and invest in workers today.
Oh.
The Honourable Member for La Pointe de l'Île. Mr. Speaker, I rise to pay tribute to Francine Lalonde. The Belvedere in Pointe-aux-Trembles has been renamed and now bears her name. Francine Lalonde was the first female vice president of the CSN. She then served as Minister for the Status of Women under René Lévesque. She continued her career as Bloc Québécois MP for my riding, La Pointe de l'Île, from 1993 to 2011. As foreign affairs critic, she promoted Quebec and its independence at home and abroad. Among other things, she took up the cause of Nathalie Morin, who was kidnapped in Saudi Arabia by her husband. She also took up the cause of Omar Khadr. Her dedication to championing causes such as dying with dignity speaks to her great compassion. Thank you to the City of Montreal for allowing the Belvedere to be named after Francine Lalonde, to become a symbol of the legacy she left for Quebec and for La Pointe-aux-Lille. Thank you, Francine Lalonde. We will never forget you.
The honourable member from Tobique-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, I have an announcement. This NDP Liberal coalition are renewing their vows after a brief 2.5-month breakup. Their irreconcilable differences have been reconciled by their shared love of pensions and power. We all may love the warm, happily ever after hallmark homecoming feel that a reconciled relationship can bring. But while this renewal of vows may be restoring their fanciful hopes of returning power and retaining power, it is leaving Canadians feeling cold and rejected. While they're rekindling their old flame and catching up, Canadians are fed up and won't be fooled again. At this soon-to-be renewal of vows ceremony, when the proverbial question is asked, can anyone show any just cause why they may not lawfully be reunited in marriage, we will all join with Canadians and say yes, and demand an immediate carbon tax election where they will get to choose between a hypocritical, high-carbon, high-flying, honeymooning coalition government of the far left and a common...
Oh, my God.
...that will action tax, build the homes, fix the budget,
Yeah. Put some W's down in the chat for that, lad. Holy smokes. Now it's a party, huh? Now it's a party.
Order, please. Order, please. Order, please. The honourable member from Cambridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Liberal government is committed to building more homes faster through the Housing Accelerator Fund. We've signed over 175 agreements to fast-track the construction of over 750,000 new homes across Canada. In my riding of Cambridge, we're receiving $13.3 million to implement 9 local initiatives, including the fast-tracking of municipal lands programs, which will spur over 3,600 new homes. These initiatives will also increase affordable housing by removing the barriers and streamlining the zoning process. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition's plan to cut is a disaster. He must stop muzzling Conservative MPs who are simply doing their job, Mr. Speaker, advocating for their communities. Mayors, housing experts, and even 18 of his own members of Parliament oppose this plan to cut. I urge him to support our Liberal plan. We need to continue to build homes faster, Mr. Speaker, across Canada for all Canadians.
Before we continue with question period, I'd just like to point out to members that the chair was generous with many members from all parties today who had gone over their 60 seconds. Just so that we could start on time, I'm going to ask all members to be mindful to try to get their declarations within 60 seconds so we can start right away. The honourable member from Kamloops, Caribou Thompson.
Mr. Speaker, violent criminals first, victims second. That is the Prime Minister's motto. Sexual psychopaths like Paul Bernardo and Terry Lynn McClintock get to play tennis and live comfortably in lower security while victims serve psychological life sentences. This happened because of Bill C-83, the Prime Minister saying that everybody in jail should be at the lowest security possible. This begs the question, why does the Prime Minister prefer criminals over victims?
Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our colleague knows very well that's not the case. He knows that all members of this House should properly be concerned about victims of crime. I think all members of this House should also be judicious to continually repeat the names of Canada's most heinous criminals in this House. We think on this side, Mr. Speaker, that's also disrespectful for victims. These heinous criminals remain in federal prisons where they belong, and our government will always stand up for victims, including not repeating the names of heinous criminals over and over again in this House.
And I ask the honourable member from Lakelands, please, to not participate unless they're recognized by the chair. The honourable member from Kamloops, Thompson Caribou.
I'll say a name, Tori Stafford. One of her relatives wrote to me about what that minister just said yesterday. He said something similarly insensitive. And if he were to read the note I got, I think he'd be on his feet withdrawing. Mr. Speaker, these NDP Liberals want to give a temporary tax trick while permanently raising the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. Here's the choice. The NDP Liberals want to remove the GST on a few things. Conservatives want to axe the carbon tax on everything permanently. Will this Prime Minister call a carbon tax election so we can axe the tax?
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Speaker, today is a tremendous day in the House of Commons. Why? Because we're giving a tax break to Canadians so they can buy essential things. Groceries, snacks, kids' clothing, kids' boots, diapers, all tax-free. That means starting on December 14th, buying beer or wine to enjoy with your friends or family, going to a restaurant, grabbing some takeout, all tax-free for the holidays. The best question that Conservative member can ask his leader is whether this time he'll be unmuzzled and unleashed to actually vote for an affordability measure in this chamber.
The honourable member from Kamloops, Thompson.
Did I miss the intro?
Speaker, this is nothing more than the arsonist pouring more inflationary fuel on the fire. Just this last May, the Prime Minister said this: you send out more cash. Quote, inflation goes up by exactly that amount. End quote. Here's our common sense solution: axe the tax for everyone. Forever. Cheaper gas, groceries, home heating, and everything that's shipped. Now that's a Christmas present everybody wants. So will the NDP Liberals call an election so we can axe the tax?
Yeah, axe the tax. Dude, I don't know how Mary Ng is sitting there still.
Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
I'm delighted to hear the member opposite talking about Christmas, because that's what we should be talking about, having a festive season. His leader, unfortunately, was talking about trickery. I thought he was still stuck in Halloween mode. But here we are talking about the festive season and what we're going to do to make it better for Canadians. We're going to ensure that the toys they buy their children are GST-free. We're going to ensure the Christmas tree they put up in their home to gather around is also tax-free. That's something that I would think every member of this chamber should get behind. But yet, to date, just to this point, we have no idea whether the Conservatives will actually support an affordability measure that helps Canadians for Christmas. Will they?
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, Quebecers are...
They didn't do the intro today.
Minister of this. Prime Minister...
I feel so violated.
Prices are up, rents are up by 33%, as are mortgages. The Prime Minister knows full well that this temporary GST break won't do anything in terms of affordability. Quebecers want permanent relief. And this is why they want a new Conservative government. When will he trigger an election to make life...
Fuck this shit. Oral questions! Cast yours online! Honorable whatever the fuck we're doing because he didn't do the goddamn intro!
More affordable for all Canadians forever.
The hell kind of shit is this?
Minister, Mr. Speaker, it's a great day for Quebecers and Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Today, Canadians have understood that their Liberal government is here for them. The first thing that Canadians said to us, Mr. Speaker, is about affordability. And this is what we're presenting today.
Promise you I'll do it every single stream, no matter what.
And we will be here to help workers. But the real question for people watching us at home today, is the Conservative leader going to allow these members to help Canadians, yes or no? That's the real question in the minds of Canadians. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable. Mr. Speaker, this Prime Minister, supported by the Bloc, kept in place by the NDP, is just tricking people. He sending them more benefits, but inflation is going up for around the same amount. After this period, these rebates will disappear and everything will go back to normal. When will the PM trigger an election to cut taxes forever? The Honourable Minister of Innovation. Mr. Speaker, we don't need an election for this. We already did this for Canadians. The answer is clear, Mr. Speaker. On that side of the House, you have the Conservatives that are obstructing systematically the House. And, Mr. Speaker, Canadians, we'll see if they have the guts to stand up for Canadians, because what we're proposing today is a measure for affordability, helping people in need at Christmas, to help workers in the spring. Mr. Speaker, will the...
Look at the Chihuahua go.
Canadians once and for all. Before the honourable member for La Prairie rises to speak, I'd just like to remind everyone, I think the member for New Westminster Burnaby shouldn't take the floor without being recognized by the chair. Thank you. The honourable member for La Prairie. The last report from Quebec's French language commissioner was made public yesterday. French continues to regress, and not surprisingly, the commissioner accuses Ottawa of contributing to its decline. Go to any federal department in Quebec, and you'll hear the language of work isn't French for the federal government. Ottawa gives bilingual jobs to unilingual Anglophones. Ottawa ignores its obligations to translate documents into French. And at the end of the day, Ottawa doesn't give a damn about French. Well, when Ottawa doesn't respect French, it's all of Quebec that doesn't respect it. Does he understand that? The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank my honourable colleague for his question. As the new Minister of Official Languages, I'm looking forward to working with the Quebec government. Protecting and promoting our both official languages is an absolute priority for our government. And that is why we implemented C13, and we did make historical investment in an action plan, $1.3 billion over 5 years. Mr. Speaker, our priority is always on official languages, and I'd be looking forward to working with my counterparts. Thank you. The honourable member for La Prairie. The French language commissioner recommends that the Quebec government question the government of Canada about the effects of its activities on the status of French in the Gatineau region. This means that Quebec must intervene and tell Ottawa to stop anglicizing Gatineau and stop anglicizing Quebec. This government is hurting French, its future, it's hurting the Quebec nation, its identity, it's harming Quebec. When are they going to stop hitting us over the head, hitting our language, and start respecting Quebec's common language, French? The Honourable Minister of Veterans and Official Languages. Mr. Speaker, I'm offended to hear my honourable colleague say that there are minority settings in New Brunswick that is hampering the promotion of French in this country. I don't agree. I'm proud to be part of a government that has made historical investment in official languages, and I'll continue to work with the province of Quebec to make sure that the necessary investments will be made. Thank you. The honourable member for Rosemount-La Petite Patrie. Mr. Speaker, for weeks now, the NDP has been putting pressure on the government to give people a break who are having a hard time paying their bills. We proposed a plan to remove the GST from essential products. The Liberals gave in to this pressure, but as usual, they only did things by halves. We won on groceries and children's clothing, but only for 2 months. The needs won't disappear in February. Do the Liberals understand that this assistance must be extended and made permanent for families who are struggling?
Dude, these guys don't care about people that are struggling.
Mr. Speaker, the NDP is just waking up. It's Christmas time, and now they're waking up. But we have understood for quite some time that the main concern for Canadians is affordability. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, that today we're presenting a strong measure, a measure that will help families. Why? Because
for 2 months,
that's when they really need a hand. They have needs for children, for groceries, and for restaurants. On the side of the House, the Liberals will always fight for affordability, will always stand up for families, and be here to say yes to Canadians in need.
The honourable member from Vancouver Kingsway.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians need relief.
While CEOs are raking in billions in profits, families are getting gouged on things like their heating, cell phone bills, and at the grocery store. Now, the NDP has called on the Liberals to remove the GST on life essentials to give Canadians a break. Instead, this government responded with a partial version of what the NDP proposed. Liberals let people down, Conservatives want cuts. Why won't the Liberals give Canadians a real break by permanently removing the GST on life's essentials?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board, Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, it's tax-free on essential goods for the holidays. That's great news for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Also supports for Canadian workers, 18 million Canadian workers getting cash back, Mr. Speaker. More good news for Canadians. On this side of the House, we're fighting for affordability measures. On the other side of the House, what do we got? Partisan games, Mr. Speaker. How can they claim to speak for Canadians when they can't even speak for themselves?
I feel like that was her audition for like a Broadway play or something. That just seemed weird.
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Hide your wallets. This Liberal NDP Cossey coalition is back to break the bank. After doubling housing costs, doubling the national debt, and doubling food bank usage, they want to quadruple the carbon tax scam. The leader of the NDP is too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to Liberal interests to fight for the people. That's why he's willing to keep this corrupt Liberal government in power, because he has pension tension. Canadians call a carbon tax election now, so common sense Conservatives can axe the tax for good.
Not just for 2 months.
Secretary to the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government is giving a tax break to all Canadians. That means that there's not going to be GST, Mr. Speaker,
For 2 months.
goods on everyday goods, Mr.
For 2 months.
Like groceries, like toys for the holidays.
For 2 months.
Clothings, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know that Canadians are looking forward to this tax break. We know that it is done responsibly. It'll be done for 2 months, Mr. Speaker. The question on everybody's mind is that Conservative member checked with his leader to see if he'll be able to vote for a tax break?
For 2 months.
Or maybe the leader won't let him do that.
For 2 months.
The Honourable Member from Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Instead of a temporary inflationary pause, why don't we give Canadians a real break? Call a carbon tax election now, so Canadians can send this costly coalition on a permanent holiday. Because a common sense Conservative government will axe the tax on gas, groceries, and home heating, and bring home lower prices and powerful paychecks. Let's do it. Let's call a carbon tax election, so common sense Conservatives can axe the tax on everything for everyone for good.
Hear, hear. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, this week the media reported that the Conservative leader is preventing the members of Parliament from the Conservative Party of advocating for their citizens, of advocating for housing investments, Mr. Speaker. Well, this Liberal government is there for Canadians. We are instituting a tax holiday, Mr. Speaker, a tax break for Canadians when they need it most. The question on everybody's mind is, are Conservative members going to be allowed to represent their communities, allowed to represent vulnerable Canadians, and vote in favor of a tax break, or are they going to need to follow their Conservative leader?
And ask members again to not take the floor when they're not recognized. And I've asked a member from South Shore St. Margaret's on several occasions this week, and I'm also asked a member from Calgary Signal Hill, please, not to take the floor. We all want to hear the question that is coming from the Honourable Member from Northumberland, Peter. Excuse me, I'm going to ask ministers, please.
Oh!
Colleagues.
Mute the mic, buddy. I'll do another petition.
The Honourable Member from Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Well, Canadians don't have to wonder anymore. The cost of living crisis coalition
Well, they never really left us. Just a few months ago, though, it was the NDP leader who said these Liberals are too weak, too selfish, and too beholden to corporate interests to fight for people. I couldn't agree more, Mr. Speaker. But today, he flip-flopped. He announced his full confidence in this Liberal Prime Minister. If this coalition is so sure of themselves, their poverty-inducing agenda, why not go ahead, go to Canadians, and call a carbon tax election?
Yep.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Let me get this straight. The Conservative members of Parliament talk about reducing poverty and talk about helping Canadians through affordability challenges, but when we have a real thing on the table that's going to cut the GST on essential goods, they have to listen to their leader.
I feel like she's going to try and sell me some kombucha or something.
For Canadians. But, Mr. Speaker, this is just par for the course for the Conservatives. We know that the supposed guy that fights for freedom of speech doesn't want his MPs to speak freely. The real question is will he allow them to freely vote for Canadians and this tax cut? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, how can Canadians be reasonably expected to see that a costly coalition that got us into this economic quagmire could possibly see the way out? This Prime Minister has increased food costs by 35%. He's increased the cost of gasoline by over 50%. He's increased the cost of mortgage and housing by over 70%. Simple question, when will this Prime Minister allow for real chance, real opportunity, real hope by calling a carbon tax election?
Instead of axing a tax for 2 months.
A GST being
2 months.
removed on essential goods
For 2 months.
the next couple of months. The Conservatives want to vote against that. As we go into the holidays and families are thinking about buying toys and getting Christmas trees, and we are offering a GST
For 2 months.
removal on those very things, the Conservatives say, no, don't stand up for Canadians. Don't help them through these tough times. Mr. Speaker, that's just par for the course and a pattern of behavior. And when you look in the dictionary, it actually starts with an H and ends with an hypocrisy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The parameters on the tax cut are ridiculous.
The Honourable Member for Levis-Lotbinière.
2 months.
While the Liberals removed the GST on beer and wine for the holiday season, hoping to make people forget how bad they are,
That's a good way to put it.
Don't have time to celebrate. This Liberal government's priorities are purely electoral. Mr. Speaker, does the Liberal government understand that Canadians want permanent tax cuts and not just for the holiday season?
Then I have
the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We are granting a tax break on groceries, on children's toys, Mr. Speaker, on children's clothing. This means that as of December 14th, a restaurant or a wine or a bottle amongst friends will be free of GST. This Conservative member, which is rising today, did he check with his Conservative leader? Is he allowed to vote in favour of this measure, Mr. Speaker? The Honourable Member for Levis-Lotbinière. Mr. Speaker, child poverty has increased in 97% of ridings across the country. It's now 1 in 5 children living in poverty under this Liberal government. Instead of inviting us to have a glass of beer, here's a common-sense solution to help families. Abolish the carbon tax for everyone, forever. This means cheaper gas, cheaper groceries, and cheaper heating during our Liberal winters. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister call an election now?
There you go. Everybody's singing the same thing. Let's just get this over with and call an election.
And social development.
For Mr. Speaker is a tax break through the winter, through the holidays for Canadians across the country. I had the chance this morning to talk with a dad in my riding, Chris, who told me how much this is going to save him on diapers, Mr. Speaker. The basics that families need day in and day out. We're moving forward with a tax holiday to support them in these expensive times. I think the question that members should be asking is, will their leader allow them to support this for Canadians?
The honourable member for Avignon, La Matisse Matan Matapedia. At a time when the federal government is being asked to increase its border staffing levels in preparation for a new wave of migration, it comes as a shock to learn that Ottawa is reducing its service hours at boarding crossings. On Tuesday, the Border Service Officers Union also expressed concern, saying at a time when all eyes are on the border, the agency is showing a blatant lack of vision in proceeding with this service reduction. To claim that the border is safer if crossings are closed more often is simply nonsense. Mr. Speaker, what does this minister have to say to concerned border services officers? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, for several months now, even more than a year, we have been working with U.S. authorities to find the best way to harmonize hours at some border crossings, some of the secondary ones. This will do two things, Mr. Speaker. This will, in the case of someone who comes to the Canadian border and who does not have the right to access Canada, they have the right to go back to a U.S. border open, which will be open, and this will allow the government to reassign agents to other crossings. The honourable member for Avignon, La Matisse Matan Matapedia. It sends a very bad message to cut hours at border crossings, except for the smugglers. It suggests that the border could be even less watertight than it is today. The message Ottawa should be sending is to deploy resources in support of agents and the RCMP. Tracking smugglers at the longest land border is a game of cat and mouse, and when the cat's away, the mice will play. When Quebec sends the Quebec police to take over border management from the federal government, is it really time to cut back on border services?
No, we should be doubling.
Minister of Public Safety.
Doubling.
On the contrary,
border services.
Mr. Speaker, it's the time to support our RCMP and services and border services to work with. We've always done with authorities, with police in Quebec. It's a joint effort between Canada's law enforcement and our U.S. partners, and that's exactly what our government has done since the beginning. We are going to reverse the conservative cuts with respect to the RCMP and border services, and we're going to continue to invest more to ensure that they have the necessary resources to do their important work. The honourable member for Salaberry-sur-Loire. Citizens living on the border in Salaberry-sur-Loire and in Châteauguay-Lacolle all know that smugglers are already one step ahead of the federal government. Since Trump's return, people are even more worried. The cuts in hours at CBSA does nothing to reassure citizens, and at the time when the RCMP must double its efforts and the federal government is being asked to support it, does this government realize how contradictory and worrisome it is to see border crossings reducing their services? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, what is not contradictory is to work with our American counterparts, like we've always done, to support the RCMP and the people who work at CBSA so they can do that work that Canadians expect of them. And this is exactly what we are doing. I'd like to reassure my colleague, if some border crossings do have reduced hours, it's obviously in cooperation with our American counterparts. Some will remain in Quebec regions to support emergency situations at other border crossings.
The NDP leader said the Liberals were too weak, too selfish, too beholden to corporate interests to fight for Canadians. But it only took him 2 months to renege on his word, reaffirm his commitment to the Prime Minister and his costly coalition, and keep Canadians in carbon tax hell. Today he reaffirmed that he is committed and showed his confidence in this Prime Minister in quadrupling the carbon tax on farmers, on food and fuel. How about a common sense solution? Axe a carbon tax on everything for everyone forever.
Forever. Yeah, I mean that. And he's wearing a Canadian pen. And he's wearing a Canadian pin.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, we are delivering real relief for Canadians, and it is
Dude, she's smiling. She can't even say it.
life more expensive when they have an opportunity to help Canadians with the high cost of living. But this is unsurprising, Mr. Speaker, because it's from the same party whose leader was delivering donuts to people out here who were protesting, and yet this morning had protesters removed by police from his home, Mr. Speaker. The guy who cares about freedom of speech certainly doesn't like it when people oppose his views. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I don't fully understand that. But Andrew Scheer is yelling across. He's yelling across the way. He's yelling across the way. Man, parliamentary privilege sucks. Oh, I don't like this. They're leaving it up to the translator to mute the mic now. He muted the mic, but he didn't mute the mic. There's no volume, but we didn't see him actually mute the mic unless I blinked. So they're leaving it up to the translator to do that now. And that's a way around the petition because Greg Fergus directly replied to my petition. Did he mute the mic? Did he mute the mic? He muted it? Okay, I thought the translators did. Did he mute it? Did he mute the mic? I'm gonna go back. 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 He muted it with his finger. There you go. So he's not muting it. He's telling people to mute it. He's telling people. Bro, he's trying to work around my petition. He's trying to work around my petition. This is so annoying. He's signaling now. No gang signs. Come on. I got to do a petition for no gang signs now? What kind of gang is that? The Muke Mighting Gang. MMG. No more gangs in Parliament, Greg. Come on. Come on, dude. Am I really turning into the petition guy? Am I really turning? I'm going to have a petition every week. I'm going to have a freaking MP as a secretary to sponsor all these petitions.
Honourable member from Foothills to start again. The Honourable member.
At a time when 2 million Canadians are forced to a food bank in a single month, when food inflation in Canada is 36% higher than it is in the United States, and a quarter of Canadians are going, 25% of children are going to school hungry, the House Leader of the Liberal government is making this a partisan thing about protesters at the Leader's house, when they should be disgusted that protesters are going to any house of any member of Parliament. I would hope she'll stand up and apologize for those comments.
Yeah, disgraceful. Going to someone's house to protest? Get the hell out of here. Dude, I wouldn't even wish that on Trudeau. Parliament's one thing, but outside of their house? That's bananas. He's got kids, he's got a wife, he's got family. That shit is not okay. Did they just freeze the feed? Okay. Climate protesters showed up in front of Pierre's house, and that's the same group that Stephen Guilbeault, Harry Potsmoker, was a part of.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, I'm actually really glad to hear that from my honourable colleague, because no protester should be in front of anyone's house, except when the convoy was here, they cheered them on.
That wasn't in front of houses.
So many residents in Ottawa and in my residence.
Shit, I see what they're doing.
Them from going to the hospital, who prevented them from going to the grocery store, who prevented them from ambulances arriving at their homes.
So they were directed by... I gotta pause it. So they're trying to compare the Freedom Convoy. Okay, first of all, the Freedom Convoy, where the convoy was situated, was directly directed and influenced by Ottawa Police Service. Ottawa Police told them to go there. They knew they were coming. They applied for permits. Permits got denied. Ottawa Police said, okay, line up right here downtown because this is where the least amount of people reside. It's all Parliament buildings. It's all buildings. It's all businesses. So they're trying to relate people, and there was always an emergency lane open. That's bananas for them to try to say that. They're trying to compare climate activists who we've seen throw paint at the Mona Lisa. We've seen them glue their hands down in the middle of the road on cement, on asphalt to try and protest people. We've seen them cause actual damage to things, and we've seen actual little microaggressions of what one could be deemed as terrorist activities by radical climate activists. And that rhetoric is being promoted by the Liberals. The Liberals want these protesters to attack Pierre Poilievre. That's my interpretation of what's going on. You can't go outside. Like it's shitty to go outside of a politician's house, out of anyone's house, and be like a paparazzi and protest the people living in that house. Like that's insane. I don't agree with that. But that's not what the convoy was. The convoy was downtown Ottawa. And that's where the police told them to go. Imagine the police say, hey, you want to protest Pierre Poilievre? Here, stand right outside of his house. That's not what's happening at all. So the comparison is apples and oranges. She just lied. She just lied. Like no road to the hospital was blocked. He's thrown up gang signs again to mute the microphone. What the fuck is happening in the house?
Full member from Cumberland Colchester.
What the hell is happening?
Despite the foolishness that's been going on, there's a crisis that exists in Canada. That's not nice.
Member from St. Albert, Edmonton, please control himself in this place or take himself outside of this room. I'm going to invite the honourable member from Cumberland. Come, everyone, relax. The honourable member from Cumberland Colchester will start again.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. Despite the messy split in September, it looks like Canada's NDP Liberal woke power couple has gotten back together again. And they're coming for Canadian hard-earned money. Canadians are not fooled by their temporary tax trickery. 53% more Nova Scotians are using food banks than 5 years ago. Almost 40,000 Nova Scotians are visiting food banks every month, and 12,000 of them are children. Here's a better and common sense solution. Axe the carbon tax on everything for everyone forever. Cheaper gas, groceries,
not for 2 months.
Everything that's shipped.
What the hell's wrong with these
Prime
people?
Minister call a carbon tax election.
Gangsta Greg.
Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if that member and any of the members of the Conservative Party of Canada actually cared about affordability for Canadians, they would support this measure to remove the GST on essential items that we are
Forever.
putting forward that is
Forever.
going to help Canadians
Forever.
over the coming months get through these challenging times. But, Mr. Speaker, this is a pattern of behavior. They say one thing, they do another, whether that is with regards to supporting Canadians through affordability challenges, muzzling their members of Parliament who try to speak up on behalf of their constituents, or taking away, removing protesters by police that don't agree with them. Mr. Speaker, they are completely disrespectful to Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member from Edmonton Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, this morning the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, the former Minister
I did see that.
and Hamas leader Deif for crimes against humanity and war crimes. Palestinian and Israeli civilians have faced horrific violence at the hands of the Netanyahu government and Hamas. Unlike many other ICC countries, this Prime Minister has not been clear, and Canadians deserve an answer. Will the government enforce these arrest warrants and ensure that the victims of these war crimes see the justice that they deserve?
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We respect the independence of the International Criminal Court. We will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the International Criminal Court. That is just who we are as Canadians. But let me be clear. All parties must abide by international law. We also know that an immediate ceasefire is urgently needed. Hostages must be released. Hamas must lay down its arms. More aid must get into Gaza, and the violence must stop. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, we may have another price-fixing scandal in Canada. This time it's not bread but potatoes. Allegedly, 2 of Canada's big food companies have been colluding together to jack up the price of frozen potato products. Costs of these products have shot up by 40% over the last 2 years. CEOs jacked up the prices and gouged Canadians. Liberals are letting families down while Conservatives cater to these CEOs who fund their election campaigns. Will the Liberals investigate this potential price-fixing French fry gate by greedy CEOs?
The Honourable Minister for Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, we'll take no lessons from the NDP on that, Mr. Speaker.
I hate this guy.
Liberal government.
But at least he's wearing a Canadian pin.
That reformed the Competition Act in this country. Now, Mr. Speaker, thanks to our government, consumers at home know that we're going to have their back, Mr. Speaker. We have given new powers to the Competition Commissioner to investigate. We expect him to use all his power and to make sure that we restore competition in this country at every single time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Kingston and the Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We know that the last couple of years have been particularly challenging, and although inflation is continuing to come down, households haven't particularly started to feel that. That is why we introduced very important measures today to provide relief to Canadians. It is yet to be seen whether or not the Conservative leader will allow his MPs to vote in favour of what is so important for their constituents. We do know that he prevented them from talking about housing money and also be continually muzzling them from representing their communities. I'm wondering if the President of the Treasury Board can help inform Conservatives why it's so important to vote in favour of this legislation.
Hear, hear. The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Mr. Speaker, diapers, groceries, prepared meals, essential goods, what do these things have in common? They're all tax-free for the holidays, Mr. Speaker.
For the holidays.
Back coming.
Sorry.
Canadian workers, 18 million Canadian workers. On the other side of the house, what do we got? Filibustering, obstructing, playing partisan games. It is time for the Conservatives to get serious about supporting Canadians. On this side of the house, every day is a great day to fight for Canadians.
Sorry for the crazy laugh, but these people make me feel crazy.
Dawson Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Liberals are trying to hide from Canadians that the company owned by the disgraced Liberal from Edmonton Centre is still eligible to get government contracts. Now, the Prime Minister may believe that his former and failed employment minister is the victim, but the real victims, of course, are Indigenous people and the people defrauded by his company. So to this point, the Prime Minister has failed to ban global health imports from bidding on contracts with the Government of Canada. Will he stand up and ban them today?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have been very clear in this House that that company was not on the list, and Indigenous procurement is for Indigenous people. But, Mr. Speaker, this is an attempt by the Conservative members of Parliament to distract from what is really good news for Canadians today. And the fact that we are going to give a break on GST for essential goods over the coming months, and we are going to support 18.6 million Canadians with a Canada Working benefit. Mr. Speaker, the question remains, will the Leader of the Opposition allow Conservative MPs to vote for it? Exactement.
For 2 months, we get help.
So let's get this straight. The disgraced former minister, the member for Edmonton Centre, a Liberal, started a pandemic profiteering business. And that business lied about being Indigenous to get government contracts. They're under investigation by the Edmonton Police Service for fraud.
And this Liberal government is still allowing them to bid on government contracts. Now, they're saying they're not on the list for approved Indigenous-owned businesses. But what about for any other type of contract? Why is this Prime Minister determined to protect Liberal insiders, and why won't he ban his disgraced former minister from having these contracts?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I said, that company is not on the list for Indigenous procurement. But yet again, Mr. Speaker, what we see from the Conservatives opposite is they don't want to talk about the important affordability measures that we have presented today. They don't want to talk about the fact that they are going to vote against and oppose a GST break for millions of Canadians when it comes to essential goods. They don't want to talk about the fact that they are going to oppose a $250 benefit for working Canadians, Mr. Speaker. They're just not there for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, this government says that they support women's equality and reconciliation, but their actions show anything but. This Prime Minister was very quick to fire the first female Indigenous Minister of Justice because she wasn't willing to lie for him. Yet it took him weeks to fire a Minister of Employment, a white male, who faked his Indigenous identity.
Wow.
It's so easy to fire one, but not the other.
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Mr. Speaker, what's so encouraging, and I would say it's not often that I find something encouraging from the Conservative Party, but what is encouraging to hear is their staunch support for Indigenous procurement. And I agree with the Conservative Party. We have to work hard to make sure that Indigenous businesses are the ones that actually profit from Indigenous priorities. And so I want to thank the Conservative Party for keeping their eye on making sure that this country ensures Indigenous economic success. We'll do that together.
The Honourable the Honourable Member from Calgary.
Yay!
To err is human. The Honourable Minister from...
You did it again!
Colleagues, the Honourable Member from Calgary-Midnapore.
Mr. Speaker, this is not real reconciliation. It took weeks for this Prime Minister to fire the Minister of Employment, to allow him to resign. Real reconciliation, according to the former Minister of Justice, would have been to fire that Minister of Employment immediately. She says she's left to watch white people play ancestry Wheel of Fortune. She says it's shameful and it's destructive. So why did it take the Prime Minister so long to fire the Minister of Employment when it was so easy to fire a real female Indigenous minister?
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous...
Great, Mr. Speaker. I see so many questions on Indigenous priorities in this House, and I want to thank the member opposite and hope that she will work with her party to ensure the safe passage of Bill C-61, a Clean Drinking Water Act for First Nations that's been co-developed with First Nations in this country. Mr. Speaker, there are many opportunities that the party opposite can support Indigenous priorities, and that's certainly one of them.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. Back to the fraud at CRA. Yesterday in committee, the minister went on the attack, but get this, not against fraudsters, against whistleblowers. It's crazy. She joined in CRA's witch hunt against its own employees. But without them, we would never have known taxpayers were robbed of over $100 million this year. Without them, we would have never known that CRA had hidden 30,000 cases of personal information theft from the Privacy Commissioner. Without them, we never would have known, because CRA was covering it all up. Why is the minister an accomplice in the attack on whistleblowers?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of National Revenue.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker.
Must be denounced, and I have to say that our minister and our government has supported Bill C-290 from that party's private members bill. There are situations where we are not able to talk about issues, specifically with respect to Section 241 in the Income Tax Act. But there are obligations and there are ways in which we are able to have whistleblowers report what they need to within the CRA, and we are constantly working on these issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Trois-Rivières. If we need whistleblowers, it's because this government never does anything until their problems make the headlines. It's thanks to whistleblowers that we know about the fraud at CRA, which the agency's been hiding at every opportunity. It's thanks to whistleblowers we know about the extent of foreign interference. It's thanks to whistleblowers there was a crackdown on sexual misconduct in the military that a Liberal minister swept under the rug. The problem isn't whistleblowers, it's Liberals hiding information. It's in their DNA. Will the minister stop attacking whistleblowers and start going after the fraudsters? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I think that the challenge here is whistleblowers. As I said earlier, there are ways within the CRA that people are able to report whatever misconduct that they see within the CRA.
Dude, CRA is corrupt as hell.
The question really is, how do we protect whistleblowers? We have obviously supported Bill C-290 from the Bloc Québécois. I wonder if we can support the Conservative Party and their whistleblowing situation that's going on right now.
The Honourable Member from Battle River, Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the disgraced Liberal MP from Edmonton Centre resigned from Cabinet, but as of today, his shady company GHI is still eligible to bid on government contracts, despite the member admitting that he lied about his heritage to get dollars earmarked for Indigenous businesses in the past. That's on top of being embroiled in conflicts of interest and even allegations of being connected with international drug busts. The government House Leader still has not made clear whether or not that company has been banned from bidding on contracts with the government. Can she give a straight answer here today?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What is clear is that the company in question was not listed as an Indigenous company. What is clear is that the company never received a contract as an Indigenous company. And Mr. Speaker, we have taken many steps going forward to provide for modernization of procurement and transparency and openness, and we're working towards supporting Canadians and supporting the Indigenous community who require our support, and we'll be there for them all the way through. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Sturgeon River, Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, what do 5 Range Rovers, 2 Porsche Cayennes, a post office box co-owned by a suspected drug trafficker, a warehouse full of medical supplies destroyed by arson, millions of dollars in fraud, and a company falsely claiming to be Indigenous all have in common? The Liberal member for Edmonton Centre. The Prime Minister continues to stand by his MP. He sees nothing wrong with these scandals. It begs the question, if all this corruption and scandal isn't enough to fire a minister, how corrupt do you need to be to get fired by this Prime Minister?
Oh mon Dieu! Tout fini!
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, that question has been answered. One question that I have is how far the Conservatives are going to go. Conservative leader wants to take away $10 a day childcare from Canadian mothers. He wants to take away dental care subsidies from our seniors. He wants to take away 750,000 new construction bills from Canadians who want to buy their first home, Mr. Speaker. Now the newest policy of the Conservative leader is to take away the tax break that the Liberal government announced today for all Canadians. When is it going to end, Mr. Speaker? Under this Conservative leader, he's going to make life more expensive.
The Honourable Member from Sturgeon River, Parkland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, now that the Prime Minister's minister in charge of Jasper's recovery has resigned under a cloud of suspicion, who's going to oversee the rebuilding of this beautiful community? Will it be the radical Environment Minister who ignored warnings for years from forestry experts that the dead forest around Jasper was a powder keg waiting to blow? Will the Prime Minister assure Canadians that he won't put the radical minister who failed the community by allowing it to burn in the first place in charge of Jasper and towns like it again?
The Honourable Minister for the Environment and Climate Change.
This member should be ashamed of the previous
Bro, shut up.
record
Go climb the CN Tower.
Mr. Speaker,
Go protest.
Do you know how much they invested in 2011 for fire protection in Jasper? Zero. Do you know how much they invested in 2012? Zero. Do you know how much they invested in 2013? Zero. 2014? Zero. 2015? Zero. We've invested more than $60 million in fire prevention in Jasper. They did absolutely nothing.
Dude, that national park burned down because you're incompetent. You've been warned about it for a very long time. Watch for gang signs. He's going to throw one up. He's going to throw up a gang sign.
Order!
Stephen Guilbeault ignored the Alberta government, man.
The honourable member for Mississauga East, Cooksville.
Shame.
Mr. Speaker, while the leader of the opposition silences and strong-arms his caucus into being his mouthpiece in their communities, our government is listening to Canadians. What are our neighbours telling me, Mr. Speaker? That while inflation is easing, life can still be challenging. They've also told me that our government has been there to support them through difficult times, but they're worried about the added costs of the upcoming holiday season. So, Mr. Speaker, could the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General, please tell us what our government is doing to put more money in the pockets of Canadians?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
I want to thank my colleague for that important question. We are starting off the new year on the right foot. Today we announced we are giving all Canadians a tax break by exempting the GST and HST on things Canadians care about so they can buy essentials like groceries, snacks, and kids' clothing tax-free. We're also introducing the Working Canadians rebate, which will put $250 directly back into the pockets of working Canadians, 18 million plus working Canadians. The question for this chamber is, will the members opposite have the courage to stand up to their leader, to free themselves from this gag order that he's imposed upon them and come out in favor of the tax break?
I'm going to ask the honourable member from New Westminster Burnaby for the second time today to please not take the floor when not recognized by the chair. L'honorable député.
The honourable member for Charlebourg-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, the Journal de Montréal newspaper reported this morning that a woman on Montreal's North Shore had her car stolen twice. And to add insult to injury, her insurance premiums went up over $7,000 a year. What's more, she was required to install the tag tracking system or she would have been denied coverage. Once again, it's the victims who end up paying for the Prime Minister's incompetence. His inaction on public safety speaks louder than his long, boring speeches on the subject. When will he wake up? The Honourable Minister of Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, we are concerned, like all members here, when we hear stories like that. And that's precisely why we've been working with the police, whether it's the Montreal Police, the Quebec Provincial Police, or other police forces in Quebec or other provinces. We've transferred hundreds of millions of dollars to support this important work. We increased funding for the RCMP, for staff, and we will continue to fight circumstances that are wholly unacceptable, like the ones my colleague just described. The honourable member. Well, to add to that, we learned this morning, for the second time in 24 hours, car thieves deliberately drove into the police who were trying to stop them in Montreal's Côte-des-Neiges area. One of the three criminals, Abdurrahman Tabyab Ali, was already awaiting trial on three separate cases for vehicle theft, accessory after the fact, forcible confinement, armed assault, robbery, breaking and entering, and death threats. How many women have to be assaulted or how many police officers killed before the Prime Minister cracks down on these criminals? The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General. I'd like to thank the member for the question, not just for the opportunity to point out the facts, but also to say that what we've seen in Quebec with CBSA is a decrease of car thefts in Quebec by 48%. What the member opposite raises is important because it has to do with the administration of justice provincially by Quebec's courts. Do we have enough police officers? Do we have enough justices of the peace in the right place? Do we have room in jails? Those are important questions that should be asked of Mr. Legault.
The honourable member from Coast of Bay, Central Notre Dame.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After 9 years, these NDP Liberals are not worth the cost, crime, and corruption. Last week, I attended a town hall on crime in Somerford, Notre Dame Bay, where the RCMP were also present. Residents told them that it's gotten so bad that they're sleeping with guns next to their beds.
Holy
RCMP
crap.
basically said that their hands are tied by this liberal, soft-on-crime justice system. So will the Prime Minister call an election and let the people have their say on whether his crime record is good or bad?
The Honourable Minister of Justice and Attorney General.
Mr. Speaker, the concerns about community safety are concerns that touch all of us in every community. What I would say with respect to the combat against gun violence in our communities right around this country is look at the Liberal record. What we've done is we've put a ban on assault rifles. What we've done is we put a freeze on handguns. Most importantly, we are investing on our borders to interdict the traffic of arms between different countries, particularly on our southern border. That's important for keeping Canadians safe, and that was in place of investments that have been cut by the previous government. That's the Liberal record. I would hope that the Conservatives will get behind basic community safety.
The Honourable Member for Dorval-Lachine-LaSalle. Mr. Speaker, this week we announced a major new investment to accelerate housing construction in Quebec. The Conservative leader has had a rough few weeks because of the scandal he caused with his plan to rip up this deal with Quebec. Can the Minister of Economic Development tell us
bad week
about how our government is helping to build more housing for Quebecers? Thank you very much. The Honourable Minister of Tourism and Economic Development for Quebec. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for that question. You know, the devil's in the detail. The Conservative leader's proposal hides some dangerous housing details, eliminating social and affordable housing in Quebec, muzzling members who advocate for their communities, cutting the $92 million in new funding to accelerate housing construction in Quebec. So the Conservative leader would silence his own members who are just going to bat for their own communities. So my question today is, will they vote in favor of a tax holiday? They could defend the interests of Canadians and Quebecers with support for that.
Member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Rents in Edmonton are rising faster than almost anywhere else in the country. A one-bedroom apartment costs 16% more than last year. Working people can't keep up. These sky-high rents are being caused by greedy corporate landlords who own almost half of all purpose-built rentals. But the Liberals refuse to stand up to them, and they've let Canadians down while the Conservatives work to get these CEOs even more. Why are the Liberals standing by while corporate landlords buy up affordable homes?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure and Communities.
Of course, Mr. Speaker, it is incumbent on all levels of government to do whatever they can to help all Canadians, including renters. On our side, what have we done? Lifted the GST costs on the construction of purpose-built rentals. Put forward for the first time in Canadian history a Renters' Bill of Rights to support renters, Mr. Speaker. We also see the need, and unfortunately we don't hear this from the NDP, for more supply. That's why we have cooperated with builders across the country. There's more to do, and we will do that work, Mr. Speaker. I know that the Conservatives will cut every single one of these initiatives. That much is clear, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On November 15th, the Peace Train pulled out of Vancouver Station, and a cross-country trip raising awareness for peace, disarmament, and peacekeeping has now arrived in Ottawa, and they've asked parliamentarians to press this government. Will we reestablish a Centre for Excellence for Peace and Justice that the Pearson Peace Centre used to be? Will we increase our involvement as a country in peacekeeping, in pressing for nuclear disarmament, and for God's sakes, will we give peace a chance?
Yeah, is she drunk again?
The Honourable Minister for...
Whose grandma is that?
Thank the member from Senate Gulf Islands for a strong advocacy and for this question. Canada has long been a proud and significant contributor to United Nations peace operations. Most recently, we pledged $85 million over 3 years in continued support of global peacekeeping and peace building. We've also extended and expanded the ELSI initiative to increase the participation of uniformed women in peacekeeping operations. We've renewed our commitment to provide tactical airlift support to UN peace operations, and we're exploring opportunities for Canadian contribution of a quick reaction force. Mr. Speaker, it has been a great source of pride for all Canadians that the Canadian Armed Forces have always answered the call for peacekeeping operations.
And so comes to an end question period. I see a number of people rising on their feet for points of order. The honourable member from Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Island, Vito Lakes.
Oh, maybe it was on. Mr. Speaker, in the past, the chair has found that words that are used in this place that can be seen to incite violence have been deemed to be unparliamentary.
Yep.
Now, I want to provide context to you, Chair. And there was a protest that took place at the home of the Minister of Justice and Attorney General. And when that occurred, I said, protest government buildings and MP offices, absolutely, but the intended target of this demonstration is a family home. This time they stayed outside, but we shouldn't wait until masked thugs are emboldened. This scene is not acceptable. Mr. Speaker, it is never acceptable for people to attend the family homes, the residences of members of Parliament, where their spouses, partners, and children live. And today, during question period, the government House Leader used language that could be seen to incite this type of activity, specifically targeting the Leader of the Opposition. Speaker, I would ask that you counsel the government House Leader to withdraw her comments, to apologize, and to condemn the protest that occurred at the home of the Leader of the Opposition, where his wife and children are. Thank you.
You wouldn't be able to suggest doing those things to the Prime Minister, so why to the next Prime Minister?
Order. I see that the Honourable Minister, Leader of the Government in the House of Commons is rising on her feet on the same point of order. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, I actually welcome those comments from the member opposite because, as I said in the second response, I agree with the Conservatives that members of Parliament's homes should not be protested. And I said all Canadians' homes should not be protested. And so I'm glad that we have found agreement in this place because I think we can all agree that no one...
What a gaslighting.
I hate to interrupt the Honourable Member, but I'm going to ask the Honourable Members from Mackenzie Peace River, please, not to take the floor. A member raised a point of order. Another member was responding. It is important that we hear what the Honourable Member says. I don't know if the Government House Leader has anything to finish before I stood up. I cannot see her. Does the Honourable Minister have anything else to add before I cut her off? Thank you. I thank members on this point, and I will review this matter.
Yeah, that's not what she said. She's lying. She's freaking lying.
Oakville, North Burlington.
Mr. Speaker, during question period, the member for St. Albert Edmonton called you a political hack. The disrespect that
run away. He's running away. He's running away.
He's running away.
Wow.
He's running away, coward.
Conservative MPs walking away or something.
Order. As I just asked members to do before, to listen carefully to points of order and to the responses. The Honourable Member from Oakville, North Burlington.
I obviously hit a nerve, Mr. Speaker. The disrespect that this shows, the disrespect that the party opposite has shown to Parliament and to the office of the Speaker is unparliamentary, it's disturbing, and it gets worse by the day. And I would ask you, Mr. Speaker, if you could ask him to apologize and withdraw the unparliamentary comment that he made in the House.
I thank the honourable member for raising this point, and as with the other point, I will take this under advisement. It being 3:25, the House will now proceed to the taking of deferred recorded division on the sub-amendment of Ms. Damoff on the motion, Ms. Damoff, on the motion to concur in the third report of the Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security.
All right, don't worry, folks. Don't worry. We got some more stuff lined up. We got some more stuff lined up here. Y'all ready for this? All right. I'm going to read off some super chats, and then we're going to continue. All right. I got a surprise for you guys. I know you're going to love it. I absolutely know you're going to love it. Just give me a second here. So, new channel member, Brezzy, thank you for joining. Brian McCaddy with the 2 US saying, is Jagmeet serious about being the next MP or the next Prime Minister? Yep. Yeah, absolutely is. He's delusional. And then again, Brian McCaddy with the 2 saying, just redirecting attention away from the other scandal. I mean, they bounce around. They're projecting, right? They're projecting. They're playing hot potato with scandals. Hot potato scandal. Bree B with the 279 saying, like giving candy to a kid, then taking it back. That's a liberal way. Mama J with the 5 saying, looked it up. This 250 is only for people who worked. Retired and disabled people get nothing. Screw Trudeau, and the payment isn't until spring. Oh, I don't mean to laugh at people, but that's insane. They're saying that this $250 is like groundbreaking. It's gonna help everybody. $250. Are you kidding me? Come on, dude. Axe the tax forever. Why are you doing it for 2 months? Drayden F with the 5 saying, buying votes, cool. How much of a tax hike is this going to create post 2 months? Garbage way to try and stimulate our economy thanks to the Liberals' recession. Right there with you, Drayden. Jim Smith, a.k.a. Codsnapper, the 699 saying Trudeau gaslighting again, trying to take people's attention from the real problems he has created. He's the guy to put a bullet in you and then say, okay, you know what? Let's patch you up. That's the logic that Trudeau has. Brian Henry with the 2 saying for the intro, and Matthew Galligan saying, OMG, needed that intro. I needed that laugh. Yeah. So I thought maybe I zoned out or something, and I completely missed the oral questions. Questions orales, honorable, Andrew Scheer, honorable Pierre Poilievre, or whomever. But no, he actually didn't do it. He did not do it. So that's why I paused it when the French frogs were speaking, and I just screamed it because, dude, that's the thing. That's the start of question period. That's not my thing, even though I'm now doing it every single day, and now people are, I don't want to say relying on it, but people wait for it, right? It's just oral questions, questions orales. That's how you start question period. That's part of our democracy. That's the thing. That's a tradition. And the speaker just didn't care about it. This speaker is somebody that nobody respects. Politicians aren't respecting him. Conservatives, Liberals, NDPs, the Bloc, nobody's respecting Greg Fergus. I don't fucking give a shit about Greg Fergus. I'm sure you don't give a shit about Greg Fergus. There isn't a single person out there who looks at Greg Fergus and says, you're an honorable person, man, and everything you're doing, right to the T by the book. You are a corrupt piece of garbage. That's exactly who you are. You're breaking traditions. You're abusing your power. And I'm going to be the petition guy. I'm the anti-Greg Fergus. So everything Greg Fergus does wrong, you bet your ass, I'm going to be here to blast it all over the internet. And petitions, which is the funniest thing because he read the petition and he replied to the petition, right? So funny. So freaking funny. Poor Man's Poet at the 10 saying, do most Canadians get bent out of shape about people speaking French? I get the Canada-Quebec dynamic, but going off about unilingual people getting jobs seems weird down here in America. Just curious. I don't think people get bent out of shape per per se about people speaking French. I think that most people that like watch the news or Parliament, they want to see what's kind of going on in English. I mean, I speak French. Iffy understand French still. I've like ever since I learned English, because French is my first language. Ever since I learned English as a younger fella, I think I was like 8 or 10 years old when I learned English. I just started to like only speak in English, and I've really started to neglect French. But I could be iffy about it. To an English person, I sound pretty fluent. To a French person, I sound I sound a little off. You know what I'm trying to say? But when it comes to like the news and stuff, I just want it in English, because I don't want to have to think like, oh, okay, croissant, oui, escargot, okay. I don't want to have to think too much about it. We prefer it in English. That's all. But when I go to like to stores and stuff like that, if someone speaks French, like it doesn't really bother me. If it catches me off guard, it catches me off guard. But yeah, it is what it is. Matthew Galligan, thanks for the support, by the way, poet. Matthew Galligan with 5 saying, give Canadians a real break and let a vote in all confidence pass and stop holding us hostage. Yes, 1,000 times yes. Stacy Nat with the 10. Give a GST break for 2 months, then raise the GST in the new year to offset the GST cuts for those 2 months, as we know he will. Won't be any more ahead. Libs have to go. Pierre for PM. Yep. Yes, I absolutely agree. This is a temporary cut to then just provide some fake relief, $250 for a few people, and then he's going to probably raise it, right? He's not working for Canadians. Canada's running a massive deficit, a massive deficit. So you think that he's going to provide tax reliefs? He's mismanaged the entire budget, all of our money. The only way to get out of this is to either grossly raise taxes and just really start pinching down on spending, or to just pinch down on spending and stop spending so much money. It's crazy. Poor man's poet with the 10 again saying, do they really not realize how bad this makes them look? Refusing to give a tax break in the summer, but giving it now. Confirming how much money people will save due to the tax breaks, etc. Morons. It is a really bad look. I don't understand the strategy. Like, maybe I'm just not fully there, and maybe it's just going over my head. But I feel like there's a lot of people, even in the live chat, they're like, this just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Blessed Maple with 5 saying they can't pass the 2-month tax cut bill without the SDTC and the RCMP clearance. It's a ploy to discredit Conservatives if they refuse. Oh, well, I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that at all. I guess they can't really do much, with the way that the Parliament is frozen right now. So it's just a dumb tactic. It's a really, really dumb tactic all around. Mako Yoshi with the, I don't know what the heck that username is, dude. I'm sorry. With 5 gifted subs or memberships. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then with your own membership. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tim Smith with the 2 saying, how close says, how does this work? Thought it was frozen. Yeah, so that could be true. They might not even be able to push that through. So Pierre is going to have to block it if he doesn't freeze or unfreeze Parliament. But if Parliament's unfrozen, that opens up a whole whack of other bags. So I don't really know what is kind of going on here. It's all kind of up in the air. But I do know that whatever Pierre is doing is likely going to be the winning outcome. Pierre is much smarter than Trudeau. Pierre is much smarter than the Liberals, and he's been playing chess while the Liberals have been playing checkers or solitaire. Okay. Brian with the 5 saying, I hope my comment doesn't cause confusion. I actually have the same name as a Canadian citizen and politician. Brian McCaddy. I didn't know that. I don't think. Okay, cool. Appreciate that. Thanks for letting us know. Sam Kinlock with a 279 saying the hypocrisy of the House Speaker is nuts. He is such a corrupt speaker. I don't think I've ever seen a speaker this bad. It almost makes me miss Anthony Rota. And to be honest, should we give Rota another chance? Like, who's worse? The guy who invited a Nazi into Parliament or the guy who is an absolute abuse of power monster? I don't know at this point. I feel like the clear answer is the guy who invited the Nazi into Parliament. That should be like the worst option. But at this point, I don't know. It's such murky waters. It's such murky waters. People are saying that Greg is worse. I mean, probably. I think the answer is Greg Fergus is worse than Anthony Rota. He's an older Nazi, right? Like, is it really that big of a deal that he was in Parliament and that we all stood up, or all politicians stood up and clapped for him, and then it took like a bit of time to figure out what the heck actually happened? Like, is it really the worst mistake? We start to like try and justify the fact that Anthony Rota brought in a Nazi just so we can bring Anthony Rota back as speaker. Oh, what is happening in Canada? What is happening in Canada? That bus driver with the 5, doesn't matter what language people speak. We're all just people living our lives. So I'm not bothered by people speaking whatever language they like. Hey, man, that's a good, he's a liberal. No, I'm just kidding. That's a progressive answer. That's true. That's kind of the beauty of Canada, is the fact that I don't want to say the melting pot that Canada is really good, because right now it's like not so good. Like, it's too big of a melting pot. It's like a Pearson Airport situation. But Canada is multiculturalism in the fact that there's lots of different languages, lots of different cultures. It's pretty cool. So you got a point there, bus driver. Appreciate that. Okay, folks, you ready for the cool thing? We're gonna do the cool thing here. We're going to start streaming in a few moments for the next step, for the stream 2.0. But you guys ready for the cool thing? I'll see you in a couple minutes. Enjoy this. All right, you ready for this? Here we go. Good morning, Canada. Welcome back to another episode of Question Period. Today is November 18th. It's November 20th, 2024. November 19th. November 5th.
MPs were just trying to solve the case of unsolved mysteries.
Yep.
Where are all these homes? So can you point out any one of them? And so they wrote the minister 18 letters, and he got 18 letters, and he couldn't respond with even one home that his $8 billion bureaucracy has built. So farmers use something called diesel. It goes in drying machines.
The way he talks to Trudeau is so funny.
The carbon tax, on which he wants to quadruple the tax. But once the votes were counted, he traded them again. He is a fake, a phony, and a fraud. How can anyone ever believe what this sellout NDP leader says in the future?
Wow! And he's gonna mute the mic! Come on, man! Come on! We pay our taxes. We deserve to hear what the hell's going on. He's going to say it's unparliamentary because you can't shake, fake, and phony. You can't name call. And then he's going to get up and call him a wacko, I betcha. Pierre's down in the corner. Dude, I am this close to doing a petition. You mother... He did it again! You son of a...
Prime Minister hiding. Why doesn't he show some guts, call this meeting, so the premiers can tell him to shove his carbon tax where his poll numbers are, in the gutter?
Oh my God.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister! Yeah, baby!
Mr. Speaker, they tell me that this isn't an individual crime. This is backed by by people who are organized criminals. How do we deal with that? When he's asking me to read the law, I'd ask him to read the
stupidest thing, bro.
Measures that deal with money laundering that you're voting against.
The guy who broke into your nan's car, that's organized crime.
This carbon plan, 8 out of 10 Canadian households do better than they would otherwise. So the question is, unless they revert to their platform commitment to the Aaron O'Toole Christmas wish book, where government will decide what they'll do with their money, what will they do with the cash that Canadians currently get, that seniors get every month, that seniors know that they can rely on, that they put towards food?
She may want to withdraw it. The word was F-A-R-T. Omar Khadri, you got more class than the whole cabinet. Thank you.
Order of $1 billion. WTF.
Here, here. I'm going to ask the honourable opposition leader, please, to withdraw that comment.
Where's the funds?
We like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
A lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians.
Can't even remember how many times he put blackface on.
A third instance of racially charged images of Liberal leader Justin Trudeau.
They did confirm to us last night that we are looking at Justin Trudeau in this video.
Wham, bam. Thank you, Sam. Huh? How was that, ladies and gentlemen? How was that? Yeah, we got more tricks up our sleeves. I'll tell you that for free. All right. That gave me enough time. You know what that's for? That gave me enough time to get ready for the second half. I had to pee. You know what I'm saying? We all got to pee, man. I had to fill up my coffee, and I think we're good to go. But I might have to make it a little bit longer because I'm not fully ready. And that was the end. You know what I'm saying? But that was pretty cool. Hey, well, one step at a time. One step for conservatives in the right direction. All right. That was pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Let me know what you guys are thinking down below. It looks like a lot of you were pleased. You guys pleased with that? You know what? You wouldn't believe me if I told you how fast that was done. You wouldn't believe me. You wouldn't believe me about the team that I got behind the scenes. That was done in a day. One day. Imagine what could be done with 2 days. Huh? We got some W's flying in the chat. Look at that. Not too shabby. Hey, not too shabby. All right, folks. I think we're ready here. I think we're ready to go. Let's just make sure that I'm on the right scene. Looks like I am. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at what we got. Oh, we got a super chat. All right. Sam says, at least the last speaker resigned after his mistake. This one just goes off out of control and corruption. You got a point. And then Matthew Elgin with the 2 saying, put Andrew Scheer back in the chair. I would actually appreciate that. That'd be a lot of fun for everyone involved. What we're going to take a look at now, guys, is holy smokes, there's a lot of W's in the chat. There's a lot of W's in the chat. What we're going to take a look at is Jagmeet Singh responded to the proposed 2-month GST pause. And then we're going to take a look at nuclear development in the Indo-Pacific. And then we're going to take a look at Melanie Joly, who's got something to say from Washington, D.C. And then Leon's and the BRIC are under investigation. Yeah, kind of crazy. Okay. And then we're going to take a look at the fact that Canada said, Justin Trudeau said, if Netanyahu steps into Canada, he's going to be arrested. But like a lot of countries are doing that. Crazy. And then we're going to take a look at how Justin Trudeau is criticizing the NDP. So buckle up because we got a lot of stuff to cover. If you're already here, you might as well stick around for the rest. I'm going to try and wrap it up in 30, 45 minutes, something like that. So it's not going to be too long. But here we go, folks. Here we go. Let's take a look at what Jagmeet's got to say.
All right. I have an opening comment, and then I'm looking forward to your questions. The NDP is a party of the working class. I am sick and tired, though, of billionaires and CEOs that continue to get tax breaks off the back of workers. So we fought for a tax break for the working class, and we're delivering. I've heard again and again from families how they are feeling so squeezed with the cost of living crisis. Families that have had to cut back on monthly costs, like taking their kids to swimming lessons or other extracurriculars. They go into the grocery store and they can't actually buy all the items that they need for their family, for special gatherings. All the while, they see CEOs get richer and richer. So we said, as New Democrats, I believe, and we believe, that we need to take the GST off of daily essentials. Let's give working class folks a bit of relief, a little break. And so we wanted to see the GST removed from things like your cell phone bill, your internet bill, your home heating bill, from your daily necessities, like going to a grab-and-go grocery store, grab-and-go items at the grocery store, or your essentials when it comes to kids, clothing, diapers. And we fought for this. We said this is important, and the Liberals informed us that they had caved to our demands. But they included a Liberal letdown. This is temporary, and it doesn't include the monthly bills. But we know that middle-class families need a break, so we're going to work as hard as possible to get this done as quickly as possible. While the Liberals have let you down, Pierre Poilievre and Conservatives are missing in action. They're too busy playing games in the House, and all that Pierre Poilievre wants to propose is to cut the things that you need to make your life even more expensive. So this is what we are committing to today. We want to see this relief done as quickly as possible. So we're prepared to pause the privilege motion that's being debated in the House for 1 day, get this bill passed in 1 day, so that working families, so that middle-class families can get this relief as quick as possible. And then, when I'm Prime Minister, I will make it. Do that again.
Whoa. Did he just say what I think he said? When I'm Prime Minister? Dude, there is no way that Jagmeet Singh actually believes that. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 1 second here. I'm going to pull this up. Let's take a little look-see at the polls. All right? Let's just zoom in because my eyes are bad. And it's not to be condescending or anything. I would never do that. Okay, where are we? Did I zoom in too much? I zoomed in too much. What have I done? Okay, let's see here. 338 Canada. Let's refresh the page. Did they change the layout of this? Where's the polls? Am I tripping out? Did I? Hold on a second here. There it is. We got it. We're good. 214 projected seats for the Conservatives. 66 projected seats for Justin Trudeau. His number is so small. 7. Where does it go? Where'd it go? I zoomed in too far. 17 projected seats. 17 projected seats for Jagmeet. 18% popular vote projection. Pierre Poilievre, 99% likely across the board of winning the most seats and odds of a majority government. Where's Jagmeet? You got Conservatives minority 1%, Liberal minority less than 1%, Liberal majority less than 1%. I don't see Jagmeet anywhere. Where's Jagmeet? Where's the less than 1% odds of Jagmeet Singh winning a majority government? Are you kidding me? And Jagmeet thinks he's going to be prime minister? Get out of town. Come on, dude. You're a politician, not a comedian. Stop the jokes. Leave that for me. Are you freaking kidding me? We're going to skip the French part, though.
Parler avec plusieurs familles, ils ont dit, ça c'est pourquoi on a dit qu'on a un coup de main pour les ils doivent faire. Et c'est une seule solution, c'est seulement pour je suis Premier ministre. And people are saying, dur et permanent. Ready for any questions?
Why only one day?
We want to get it done as quickly as possible. And people are saying that they are really squeezed when it comes to the cost of living. So we want to see this motion passed or this bill passed as quickly as possible. So we'll get it done in one day.
And you don't need consent from the House to do a one-day pause?
No, what we're prepared to do is make sure that there is enough time in the House to get this passed in one day. You can speak with our House leader for more details, but this is what we're proposing. We don't want to let the Liberals off the hook, but we want to see some relief for middle-class families, for working-class families. We're prepared to do that.
You said you'd make this measure permanent. Would you keep that $150,000 salary cap? I mean, to me, those people aren't really hurting right now.
No, what we had proposed was to have the GST removed from daily essentials and bills. We would make that permanent.
Monsieur, êtes-vous d'accord avec le chèque de 250, est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec ça? Avec un plafond de 150 000 $ pour le salaire, est-ce que vous trouvez que c'est raisonnable?
Je pense qu'à ce moment, les gens ont besoin d'un peu d'aide. Et à ce moment, c'est quelque chose sur les deux bouts. PS permanent à cause de notre pratique.
You do support $250 going out, as everyone has mentioned, for people who have salaries up to $150,000.
Listen, we said that this is a measure that we fought for to remove the GST off of.
No, I'm asking about the checks. Sorry, I'm asking about the checks specifically.
To remove the GST off of daily essentials, and the Liberals have caved to that. They've also proposed an additional measure to get money out to people. We support that. We're not going to oppose people getting some help. It's not the way we would have done it, but we're not going to oppose people getting some help.
Dans cette belle journée que vous avez en tête, est-ce que vous feriez passer aussi l'énoncé économique qu'on attend, les motions de voisins moyens sur l'augmentation du taux d'inclusion du gain en capital, etc. Est-ce que vous passeriez tout ça dans cette journée-là?
Maintenant, on cible le fait que les gens ont besoin d'aide et on a demandé qu'on doit enlever la TPS sur les essentiels. Donc ça, c'est où je cible mes efforts pour réaliser cet avantage.
D'autres choses comme mon collègue vient de dire. You ripped up your supply and confidence agreement. So how is this any different now, what you're doing with the Liberals?
We fought for something. We said it should happen. We said that people should get a break. They should get the GST removed off of their essentials. The Liberals caved to that demand and are now doing it. There was no negotiation. There was no discussions. We put it out in the public. We said people need this help. And then the Liberals caved to that and are announcing what we said people need. People need a break. So for folks out there that are feeling squeezed, we see you and we heard you. We want to give you some relief. And so what we're going to do is make sure that you get the GST removed off of your essentials, and we're going to get it done in the House. We know that the Conservatives and Pierre Poilievre are playing games. The Liberals haven't been able to disclose documents. We're going to make sure this gets done for you and your families.
Quand le projet de loi serait déposé? Quand le projet de loi sera-t-il déposé selon vous? Avez-vous une idée? La semaine prochaine?
I'm convinced Jagmeet Singh is nuts. I'm convinced Jagmeet Singh is delusional. He needs to be checked to see if he's even mentally fit to remain as a Canadian politician. This guy is crazy.
Mais comme j'ai dit, pour
réduction de TPS.
Non. Et on a accepté passe rapide.
Being the cap, are you concerned that these checks could be inflationary, given that they're going out to such a wide group of Canadians with $150,000 salary being the cap? Are you concerned that this checks going out could be inflationary?
Well, again, this is not the way that we would have approached it. We said we wanted the GST removed off of daily essentials and off of bills. That's what we proposed. The Liberals, no negotiation. They came forward and said they caved to our demand and they're going to do something that's going to give people a break. Obviously, we're going to support people getting a break. It's not the way we would have done it, but we absolutely need to get a break for people, and we're going to support that and make sure that gets passed as quick as possible.
Why are you willing to pause the debate for this and not for the estimates, which have $317 million in new dental care funding?
So this is a measure that we demanded recently. We said that we need to see people get a break. We know that people are drowning. And that's why we put forward the idea to take the GST off of daily essentials and monthly bills. We know this is going to make a difference in people's lives. So we want to see that done right away. It's not meaningful if the idea is floated and then it takes forever to pass it and no one gets any help. So before the holiday season, we want to see people get some relief. This bill will do that. It's something we fought for, something we demanded. The Liberals have caved to it, and we want to get it done in the House. Now, Steve, thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, by definition, sure, it's helping people. But again, like, it's like offering a Band-Aid or a shot of vodka after you've been shot with a bullet in your stomach or in the arm. Like, yeah, okay. Sure, it's a little bit of relief. The vodka will help numb it a little bit, but we need a hospital. We need emergency, long-term policy implementation as a relief. Like, this is crazy. Any amount of money that you get back, sure, like that by literal definition is helpful. But we shouldn't be forced to kiss their feet and say, oh, thank you for the help, for not really doing anything long term. 2 months is a joke, and you don't see the money till after the 2 months has gone by. So it's crazy. It's not, it doesn't make any sense, really. Next up, let's take a look here at Canada's trying to invest in nuclear development in the Indo-Pacific region. So let's take a little look-see-poo here.
Good morning, everyone. Bon matin tout le monde. It's really an honor to be here with all of you.
That's some weird-ass French.
I did want to just first start by recognizing that we are gathering on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. So really thrilled today to be with all of you. My name's Jenna Suds. I'm the Member of Parliament for this amazing part of our city and the Minister for Families, Children and Social Development. I am so thrilled to have Minister Ng here with us in my riding today with some really exciting news that you'll get to hear in a few moments, really helping to position Canada for long-term success in the global marketplace, including by strengthening Canada's trade relations with the Indo-Pacific region. Also, really thrilled to have my dear colleague here in Ottawa, MP Yazir Naqvi, the MP for Ottawa Centre and the Parliamentary Secretary for Health. Thrilled to have him here, and just an incredible advocate join us, and incredible that we get to continue.
Like, why is Mary Ng there? She was accused of Chinese foreign interference.
And as we're here at Nordion, and as we're about to chat about today, Canada's nuclear sector is vital. It is.
So, okay, this is why I'm interested. This is like personal interest of mine. Canada has a real opportunity. Canada has a real opportunity to grow our economy and have like a massive, almost tech boom. We all know the world is heading towards, AI and just technology in general, right? Our phones are like more high powered than they've ever been, and it's only going to get increasingly crazy. And with the rise of electric vehicles, electric appliances, electric everything, right? Like I like those things. I have electric tools that are battery powered. I have an electric chainsaw that I used when I was living in my van because it was DeWalt, and I can use my DeWalt drill batteries in my chainsaw. It's really cool. Electric cars are kind of neat. Having technology in the vehicles is kind of neat. Where it doesn't become neat is forcing people, citizens, civilians, to abide by this like climate agenda and forcing them into the EV or electric sector. That's obviously where that becomes kind of dictatorship. But the actual practical use of electric things are really cool. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of kinks in them. But Canada has a real good opportunity to develop nuclear technology, not to weaponize it, but to grow our infrastructure. Like, we need more power, we need more energy, and they're trying to shift away from fossil fuels. And whether you agree that that's good or that's bad, Alberta has obviously a massive gold mine of resources for using fossil fuels and stuff like that. And I think that that's phenomenal. But it doesn't mean that we have to only be limited by that. I'm a big fan of solar. I understand there's a lot of kinks with that. I installed, picnic table size solar panels on my last van that I lived on. Even on this van right here, the van had solar panels that were made for like not flat rooftops or for boats, right? So they're like they're almost not malleable, but they could bend. They're very thin and they can bend. They're not rigid panels. And I installed it on this van right here when I lived in it. And I got the cables and I powered them to a charge controller, to an inverter, 3,000 watt inverter, to lithium ion batteries. Super cool. My fridge, my freezers, my lights, my showers, everything ran off solar. I am pro that. But again, forcing people to go that route, which is very upfront cost, way more expensive than alternatives, is absolutely bananas. It should be a choice. That's what the beauty of a free market is. Solar, though, has a lot of limitations. You obviously need the sun. And when the sun is not up, like a good part of the day, half the day, you got no energy. And so what's other alternatives? So there's oil and gas sector, there's solar, and we're really trying to get into nuclear because nuclear is clean energy, and the radical environmentalists can't say that it's bad and can't say that it provides a carbon footprint because it's just super clean energy. Of course, it has to be very well contained or else nuclear, but nonetheless, a lot of companies out there are working on it. Now, this is something that America is doubling down. I think there's a company called Vistra something based out of Texas that's trying to push for, energy, clean energy. There's also other nuclear companies, energy companies in America, New Scale and all this. This is shit that I follow. Like, I actively follow this stuff on stock market, stock prices, development, stuff like that. And I'm telling you that Canada has a real good opportunity here in Canada to develop nuclear technology. And that's what our sector is. Because when you look at the stock markets for other countries, America versus Canada, Canada is good for two things, right? Banking, so finances, and energy. That's kind of it. Other than that, our economy, just like based off of stock markets, we don't really have much else to offer. And so I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's the liberals that push it forward. I don't care if it's the conservatives. I just want somebody to push it forward to start development of nuclear, not weapons, but energy here in Canada. We have natural refrigerator and freezers available, and that helps cool things off. And so we just need smart people that are pro-business, pro-economy to run the show and say, hey, nuclear companies, we got a spot up north for you to lease. Go do your thing. Go make money. Let's go. And Canada so far is, as we're about to see, starting to become pro-nuclear development. But it is only in the Indo-Pacific region. And so it's extremely annoying. It's extremely annoying. And I see someone in live chat saying Ontario is allowed to use nuclear. No one else. Tisk by base. And that's true. So again, there's these like monopolies here in Canada where only Ontario is allowed to use nuclear. And you can't have it in BC. You can't have it in the territories. You can't have it in up freaking north in the middle of Saskatchewan, right? Like, it's nuts. It's nuts. I'm super pro the development of nuclear energy. I'm super pro that. But again, we need the right leadership. And I just don't think that these people on screen are the right people to do that, because they're pro that technology and development, but in other places around the world. That's the weirdest thing about Canada. Canada is trying to invest in things in other countries, not here in our own country. That's not recession proof. As we saw, it's absolutely not recession proof.
Vital to our future, and no doubt nuclear applications have an expanding and growing role in many aspects of our life. And the ecosystem is collaborative, it's inclusive, and it's trustworthy. All values that we hold near and dear to our heart here in Canada, and of course in my community here in Canada. So Nordion, we know, is a trusted partner, a visionary, a leader in providing cobalt-60 used for sterilization and irradiation in the medical field, pharmaceutical field, food safety, the list goes on and on. Really thrilled and lucky to have this gem right here in our community and in our city. So with that, I have the great pleasure of passing the baton to Minister Ng, and sincerely excited for the great news that she's going to share with us here this morning. Minister Ng.
Thank you so much. Bonjour tout le monde. It's really, really terrific to be here. I'm especially thrilled to be in your riding, Jenna. This is not the first time, because she does talk about it being a technology park, and as a result, given what we have been doing as a government, it causes not just me, but a number of my ministerial colleagues and the Prime Minister to be coming here to your riding to to support the really great work that gets done here. And of course, my good and dear friend and colleague Yasser Naqvi, Member of Parliament for Ottawa Centre. And it really is terrific that I have colleagues like both Jenna and Yasser to do the work that we get to do on behalf of Canadians. It's wonderful to see your excellencies who are here. Thank you so much for coming here today. And in fact, I'm going to be seeing them not only here, but on the other side of the Pacific Ocean, not in about 2 weeks from now. So that is really terrific. I also want to welcome Jan De Silva, who is the Canadian co-chair of the Canada ASEAN Business Council. Jan, thank you so much. And to everyone that is here today, who are part of this incredible ecosystem and the excellence of work that we do in Canadian nuclear. Thank you all so very much. Today, I'm very proud to announce the launch of the Canadian Trade Gateway for Nuclear Development in the Indo-Pacific that will be based in Singapore. And this is a groundbreaking initiative that's going to connect Canadian nuclear expertise with the dynamic markets of the Indo-Pacific region. This gateway was indeed announced by the Prime Minister last week when we were at APEC together, at the APEC summit that took place in Lima, Peru. And this gateway really builds on Canada's Indo-Pacific strategy, which we launched in November of 2022. This really represents our commitment to expanding trade opportunities, creating good jobs here at home, and building resilient supply chains that will serve both Canadians and our partners in the Indo-Pacific region. Canada is a Tier 1 nuclear nation with a proud history spanning over 7 decades of nuclear innovation and leadership. Since the 1940s, we have been at the forefront of nuclear research, development, and commercial applications. This expertise is recognized worldwide. And crucially, we have maintained an unwavering commitment to nuclear non-proliferation and the peaceful use of nuclear technology. This commitment to safety, to security, and to responsible development has made Canada a trusted partner in nuclear cooperation around the globe. I've seen this leadership firsthand earlier in the year, in very, very cold January. I visited the Saskatchewan Research Council and witnessing the dynamic research ecosystem in nuclear energy there. I also toured Darlington, their refurbishment center recently as well, where nuclear energy generates over 20% of Ontario's electricity needs, So just to give you a sense of what that is, enough to power 2 million homes here every day in Ontario. These visits really demonstrate to me that the real-world impact of Canadian nuclear innovation. And just last week, another significant milestone, we celebrated Atkins Realis's announcement of 2 new CANDU reactors that will be built in Romania, along with the refurbishment of their C1 CANDU reactor in Cernavodă. So these developments really show Canadian nuclear technology continues to be the choice of our partners worldwide. We possess here in Canada the fully integrated nuclear supply chain, from cutting-edge research and uranium mining to fuel processing, technology development, manufacturing and operations. The world-renowned CANDU reactor technology was developed right here in Canada. We still own the IP. And it stands as a testament to the innovation, with more than 30 reactors operating globally. But it's also preventing over 30 million tons of greenhouse gases from emitting every single year. So the timing of this gateway couldn't be more crucial. The Indo-Pacific region, which is home to the ASEAN, is the world's 5th largest economy, with over 700 million people. It is among the fastest growing region in the world. I was very pleased to be with the Prime Minister last week while at the APEC Summit to announce that we have also substantively concluded negotiations between Canada and Indonesia on a trade agreement. This growth really in the region brings with it enormous demand for reliable, clean energy, for power, so that they can power that growth, whether it's their industries or their communities and for the people. So additionally, we are seeing the rise of digital technologies. Think about AI and the power that it's going to be needed through data centers and so forth.
That's what I just said.
That is also creating an unprecedented need for sustainable power sources. And we think that one of those sources is indeed nuclear. And when we consider these demands alongside the
I haven't watched this yet, but is that not what I just said at the start of the video? We're watching this together for the first time, unless you've already seen this. That's exactly what I said. But I don't know if these people are competent enough to pull it off.
Urgent need to fight climate change and make sure that that there's carbon neutrality.
I didn't say that.
Security. The importance of nuclear energy becomes even more clear. Both the IPCC and the IEA, so that's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and the International Energy Agency, have confirmed that nuclear power is integral to achieving carbon neutrality, and Canada is ready to meet this challenge. Our leadership extends beyond traditional nuclear power. We're also at the forefront of small nuclear reactors, commonly known as SMRs. We have made investments of $1 billion in the Darlington facility, over $1.2 billion in the Chalk River Research Facility, and $70 million in waste minimization technologies. The SMRs are smaller, more reliable, and adaptable to the various settings, from metro areas to remote and rural communities, therefore adding to what is the future of nuclear energy. And in fact, when I was in Saskatchewan, that's exactly what I was seeing developed there. In addition,
SMRs is the way of the future. Small modular reactors. That is the way of the future. And Canada cannot be left behind in this. Our entire economy is held up by 2 sectors: finance, so the banks, and energy. And you've got Enbridge, you've got Sun Life, Sun Life, you got Fortis Gas, Fortis BC Hydro. You have massive energy sectors. Algonquin, right? Massive energy sector and finance. That's the 2 big things of Canada. We can't mess this up.
In addition to the energy, we're here. We're here at Nordion today. We're a world leader in medical isotopes. So companies like Nordion exemplify through your 60-year history of successful exports already to those very markets, represented by their excellencies already, in addition to other markets in the Asia Pacific as well as into ASEAN countries. Nordion has ambitious plans to double their isotope output by 2030. And this, I think, just further strengthens Canada's position in this critical sector. And your success story really demonstrates the tremendous potential for Canadian nuclear technology here in Canada and certainly for the Indo-Pacific region. So this new gateway is going to facilitate opportunities using three approaches. First, we're going to create partnerships between Canadian businesses, regional stakeholders, and local institutions to develop nuclear capabilities and knowledge. We'll work closely with the Canada-ASEAN Business Council, the Canadian Nuclear Association, the Organization of Canadian Nuclear Industries, and the Canadian Nuclear Isotope Council. Second, it will leverage our post-secondary institutions that have expertise in nuclear, including the University Network of Excellence in Nuclear Engineering. Thank you to the post-secondary colleagues who are here today. And here to build capacity and expertise with partner nations. This knowledge exchange will ensure that the region will develop its nuclear sector, and when it does so with the highest standards of safety, security, and non-proliferation, because we will share that knowledge from Canada. And I'm hoping that what they will also do is to be able to co-develop the training and the skills needs for their people. Third, this gateway is going to provide a platform for Canadian companies to showcase their expertise and to connect with opportunities in the region. I am the trade minister, after all, so helping Canadian companies grow in the region is very much a part of the job. And by showcasing Canadian businesses, it will really provide that world-class Canadian nuclear expertise, technology, and safety standards. And I think together, we will be able to build a future powered by clean and by reliable nuclear energy. And as we face the challenges, it's the dual challenge of both climate change and energy security. This gateway will serve as a bridge between Canada and our innovation and the Indo-Pacific growth. It'll create prosperity and it will create sustainability for all of our nations throughout the Indo-Pacific and here in Canada. So thank you so much. Merci beaucoup.
I just hope that we don't mess this up. I hope that we don't mess this up because we have a real opportunity to have a massive economic boom in such a positive way and bring so much money to Canada and cut our costs and just be like super efficient. But are the Liberals really the ones to be able to lead us to that goal, lead us through all these murky waters and these crazy times? I mean, they've launched us, projectiled us into insane deficits. I just don't see how they're the ones to be pro any of this in the long run to the point where it's going to be economically viable. I don't like it. I like that we're moving towards nuclear. I don't like how it's the Liberals in power. And I just want an election. I want Trump to be president with Pierre Poilievre right from the get-go. I don't want Trudeau to be running the show. I don't want Trudeau to be handing out $250 checks for cutting GST for 2 months. I don't want any of that crap. I want Pierre in. I want Conservatives to have a majority, and I want us to go off to the races. Let me know if you guys agree with that. That's just my own personal opinion. Next up, we're going to take a look here at Mélanie Joly, Justin Trudeau's mistress, allegedly, hypothetically, who gives a, this video is titled, Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly recaps visit to Washington, D.C.
Hello, everybody. It's a bit windy, so please bear with me. But I'm happy to see all of you. Happy to be in Washington. And this trip today is part of a U.S. engagement that will be also following in Halifax, where we will be heading, and I will be heading to the Halifax Security Forum. And so in that context, we wanted to make sure that we would be here in Washington as part of our plan. Why? Because we've told you many times that we had a good plan. The first step was to make sure that we would be able to engage with the new administration. We would also have a U.S.-Canada committee. We would nurture the existing relationships we have and also build new ones and have good conversations. So in that context, I met with many senators. We'll do also a meeting with many more senators also in Halifax. And we've talked about many issues. First one is, of course, trade. Second is the border. We've talked a lot also about Arctic foreign policy, because we're coming up with a new Arctic foreign policy, about the Columbia River Treaty, which is about water management in British Columbia and on the West Coast. And of course, because I'm the foreign minister, we've talked a lot about geopolitics as well, which is clearly something that many senators are interested in. So we know that the relationship with the U.S. is strong, and my job and the job of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet is, of course, to make it stronger. So let me just say that in French now. Donc, ça me fait plaisir d'être ici à Washington avec sur certainement de en lien avec l'arrivée de la pleasure to take all your questions.
Minister, did you get a sense of whether Donald Trump's planned, 10 to 20% tariffs across the board, whether that's going to apply to Canada or whether we're actually going to get the exemption that we're apparently pushing for?
So, we know we have a good trading relationship with the U.S. President-elect Trump announced yesterday his new ambassador, his appointment to become ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra. When he announced that, he also mentioned the strength of the USMCA, which he was able to agree on, along with, of course, Prime Minister Trudeau. And so our goal is to make sure that we continue to abide by this important trade deal we have with the U.S. And meanwhile, many senators I've met are clear that when it comes to Canada, the relationship on trade is very, very important. And also they notice what we're doing to make sure that we protect also our market based on national security grounds on any form of backdoor that China could have. And so based on that, I think that we're having positive conversations, but we'll continue to engage.
The U.S. says that they don't like the ICC's decision that Benjamin Netanyahu should be arrested. Do you agree with the U.S. or do you agree with the ICC that this is a good decision to put out a warrant?
So I'll let the U.S. take its own decisions. When it comes to us, the Prime Minister was asked that question earlier today. So I think that we should all remind ourselves that the situation in Gaza is absolutely catastrophic. Too many women and children have been killed, and at the same time, hostages need to be released, and Weinstein's remains need to be returned to her family and to her daughter, Iris, which I'm in close contact with. And that's why we need a ceasefire. And that's been Canada's position for a long, long time. Now, Canada's
How is your position calling for a ceasefire on one war, but you're actively promoting and instigating another war? Why not call a ceasefire in Ukraine as well? Like, I don't understand the hypocrisy. These people are delusional. They are warmongers. I'm not pro any other country. I'm not pro Israel. I'm not pro Russia, Ukraine, Palestine. I'm not pro any of these people. I'm pro Canada. And Canada is at a real risk of losing out on a lot of money with trade deals. We're at a real risk of facing some sort of nuclear war. I have no idea. But I don't want wars around the world. This is a lose-lose situation for everybody involved. And Canada has been indirectly involved. We got troops in Poland. We've sent over $5 billion to Ukraine, right? I know it's not free money. It's guised under, it's not grants. It's loans. We've loaned them $5 billion with interest. They're a war-torn country. Are they ever going to be able to pay back the loan? You can avoid not paying back the loan by declaring bankruptcy. Are you kidding me? Ukraine owes freaking $100 million plus interest back to America. Why is Canada going to be a priority in getting any of that money back? This doesn't make any sense.
The founding member of the ICC. Canada has always believed not only that international law is important, but international law needs to apply to all parties at all times. And at the same time, in order to do so, we need accountability in our world. And so based on that, Canada will abide by its obligation under the ICC treaty.
Et vous pouvez répéter votre réponse sur les tarifs en français, s'il vous plaît?
Non.
L'importance positive ici lorsque...
Alex Pineda,
Hi.
CBC News.
How are you, Alex?
I'm great, thank you. A little cold, but it's other than that, we're doing well.
Yeah, we're Canadian, so we get it.
Just one question about the border. You mentioned having discussed it with people here in Washington. The Trump administration is planning, or the future administration is planning, what it calls a shock and awe campaign at the border on day one of its administration. How confident are you, after having spoken with people here, that those measures it takes might not affect travel at the northern border as well?
Listen, when it comes to the border, first and foremost, it is in the interest of both countries to make sure that it is secure. It is our fundamental duty to make sure that that's the case. And so we are continuing a conversation. The Minister of Public Safety, Dominic LeBlanc, is really active on this. The Minister of Immigration, Mark Miller, as well. And we are managing through the U.S.-Canada Committee also a lot of these discussions. But we have to make sure that we engage with the U.S., and that's exactly why I'm here. And that's exactly also why I'm heading to Halifax to meet with 5 more senators, which are important decision makers. Some of them come from northern states. Some of them really understand the importance of having a border that is secure on both sides, and others that may have a different geography, coming from a different part of the country, also absolutely get how much Canada must be, and Canada and the U.S. Must be in close coordination on this issue.
A question on the ICC, just following up on what Adrian asked earlier. I just want to make sure I've understood correctly. If Mr. Netanyahu or Mr. Dave set foot on Canadian soil, they would be arrested.
So what I've said is we will abide by our treaty obligations because we believe in international accountability. We believe in the ICC. Now, I won't give an hypothetical answer based on a hypothetical question, but my point is Canada's founding member has signed the treaty and therefore needs to follow its obligations.
Et en français, est-ce que M. Netanyahu serait arrêté s'il
Non.
And negotiations in 20... a two-part question here.
Yeah.
How will Canada handle Mexico's ties with China when it comes to USMCA renegotiations in 2026?
Mm-hmm.
And would Canada be open to negotiating separate bilateral free trade agreements with the U.S. and separately Mexico?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Mexico will take its own decisions, but what we all can agree on is that no country can become a backdoor to China. That's our position.
And another question now on to Trump administration. How would Canada respond to if Trump moves forward with his plan to impose a universal up to 20% tariff on all countries, including Canada?
I've answered that question already regarding tariffs. I think your colleague asked me, it was a 10% tariff that he mentioned. You're mentioning now 20%. What I'm saying to you is that our trade relationship is important. I think all the different senators I've talked to know that. President-elect Trump referred to the importance of the trade relationship when presenting what would be his appointment for the future ambassador of Canada. And so we'll continue to work on it. We have to do our job, which is to meet important people, to develop the new relationship with the new administration, and being the diplomat-in-chief of the government, that's something that I take extremely seriously. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, sure. Who have you managed to speak with in the Trump transition team so far?
So I won't give all the different names of the people that I'm in contact with, but what I can tell you is right now we've had many conversations with different senators. Here I met with Rick Scott. I met also with Lindsey Graham. I will be meeting also with Lisa Murkowski a bit later today. I will be meeting with Jim Rich, which is also a senator in Halifax and the head of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Senate. So I'm just giving you enough names right now.
Any response to Russia apparently firing a ballistic missile into Ukraine, and seems like an escalation in their tactics?
So I know there's been a lot of rhetoric on the part of President Putin. We know that President Putin has no red lines, and the best way to get to peace is for him to leave Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wouldn't you agree, though, that the best way for Canada to get to peace is for Trudeau to leave? Like, come on, man. Come on, this is nuts. This is not. These people are warmongers. You're advocating for more war instead of calling for a ceasefire, where you should be calling for a ceasefire. I don't understand it. Now we're going to be taking a look at this extremely bizarre story where Leon's and the Brick, that's right, the furniture stores, are being investigated by Canada's Competition Bureau. Kind of weird, but here we go.
And two furniture giants many Canadians are familiar with, Leon's and its subsidiary, The Brick, are at the center of an investigation by the Competition Bureau looking into whether they deceptively marketed their products to customers. Paul Hollingsworth on exactly what the watchdog is examining.
Leon's owns The Brick. Both stores specialize in furniture and appliances, and both chains are facing serious allegations from Canada's Competition Bureau. They include end dates for sales and promotions that are false or misleading, inflated regular prices when making savings claims, and sale claims with no reference to the amount of the discount. In a joint statement, Leon's and The Brick said they are committed to complying with all regulatory requirements and are cooperating with the Bureau. So far, there is no final conclusion that any wrongdoing has been committed. If found guilty, the punishment could be severe.
Companies have been fined in the millions of dollars previously for these exact kinds of offenses.
Anyone who has any suspicions or concerns about alleged deceptive marketing practices is asked to contact the Competition Bureau. It's unknown what prompted this investigation. Marketing analyst Clive Veroni says these allegations could be a turnoff and a breach of trust for customers.
We are heading into a major sales period. We're heading into Black Friday, and right after that will be Christmas sales. This is a critical sales period for the company.
Canada's Competition Bureau has not offered any timeline for how long this investigation could take. Paul Hollingsworth, CTV News, Halifax.
Yikes. Not a good look. Not a good look all around for Canada. It seems like in the government side of things, there seems to be a lot of shady things happening, and in the private sector. Yay, go Canada, right? I'm sure that's awesome for our reputation. And now we're going to take a look at some things that we didn't get a chance to look at before, which is Canada, will Trudeau abide by ICC rulings after warrant issued for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu?
That the ICC has issued warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Canadian law enforcement is obligated to arrest them should they come to Canada. Will you allow that to happen, or will you step in to prevent an arrest?
First of all, as Canada has always said, it's really important that everyone abide by international law. This is something we've been calling on from the beginning of the conflict. We are one of the founding members of the International Criminal Court and International Court of Justice. We stand up for international law, and we will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the international courts. This is just who we are as Canadians. At the same time, we need to keep working to solve this terrible situation. We need to see aid flowing in to people who are facing famine and disease. We need to see all the hostages released. We need to see Hamas lay down its arms. We condemn Hamas for its continued actions. We need to see a ceasefire that protects civilians. We need to get back on track towards a two-state solution with a peaceful Israel living alongside a peaceful Palestinian state. These are the things that Canada has been working on. And at the same time, we have to recognize as Canadians that it's been very, very difficult for members of different communities in this country. We have to remember who we are, be there for each other, understand that people are angry and grieving, but remember that we are all pushing for peace and stability as hard as we can.
No, he's not. That doesn't make any sense. He's absolutely not pushing for peace and stability as hard as he can. he's a warmonger. He's allowing like these Hamas protests to happen here in Canada. He's actually encouraging it, guising it under freedom of speech, even though there's chance for death of other people here in Canada. And then you also gave $5 billion to Ukraine. I know that was specifically about Palestine, but you're funding one war, and then on another war, you're not funding it, but you're socially encouraging certain things to happen. The leadership is insane. Trudeau doesn't stand for anything. Trudeau has a weak spine, and he will cave to social pressure. As we're seeing, he's retreating on the entire pillars and values of what liberalism today stands for. Overly progressive immigration policies. He's now cut back on that and done a U-turn. Right now, he was like super pro-Israel and giving all the money to Israel and saying they should keep fighting, fight. And now it's the total opposite. And it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna arrest him if the Prime Minister of Israel shows up here. Like, he's just flip-flopping on everything, right? Socially malleable. But that's not how a Prime Minister should be. And this next clip here, Trudeau comments on the NDP and how they chose to sit back, cross their arms, and allow Parliament to be bogged down, says Justin Trudeau.
The NDP called for removing GST on home heating and other monthly bills. Why was that not included?
I'm pleased that the NDP is getting behind us on this tax break for all Canadians. We have seen, unfortunately, for the past months in the House of Commons, the Conservatives have been blocking legislation that could be passed on accelerating dental benefits for Canadians, on moving forward on supports for families, and for the NDP to say, okay, enough is enough. Let's actually get Parliament working to deliver for Canadians. It's about time. We know the Conservatives didn't care about dental benefits or the school food policy. They voted against them, so they're fine blocking it in the House. But I know the NDP actually supports our national school food program. The NDP actually supports dental care. So it's been bewildering to me to see them sit back, cross their arms, and allow Parliament to be bogged down in procedural filibusters that the Conservatives are choosing to do and not being able to deliver concretely for Canadians. So to see the NDP getting behind us on a tax break for all Canadians, on support for Canadian families, on delivering money in the bank accounts and pockets of working Canadians, these are things that we should be pulling together as a Parliament, and I'm hoping all parliamentarians will get behind us on this.
Thank you. Last question.
But again, it's short-term relief. Yes, any relief is good relief, but it's for 2 months. It's insanity. Why not do it for even 2 years or 1 year? Why 2 months? Just for the holidays? That proves the point that you're clinically insane.
Hi, Prime Minister. Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. I think when people saw that this announcement was being made, they saw Jagmeet Singh sort of take credit for it preemptively last night. They thought maybe you'd struck a deal with the NDP to end the privilege debate with this announcement. It sounds like the NDP isn't prepared to do that, and they want to use other motions to support this measure. What kind of discussions are you having with that party to get Parliament moving again?
I am certainly hopeful that the NDP will see that a frozen Parliament doesn't deliver for Canadians. Like I said, the Conservatives have been blocking all the affordability measures that we've been putting forward, and to see the NDP tacitly agreeing with them has been a little confusing for a lot of progressives across the country. So with this measure that has to get through Parliament and get through Parliament quickly so people can start feeling that relief at that tax break as soon as mid-December comes around, the NDP is going to have to step up and get beyond the freeze that we're seeing in Parliament. But I hope all parliamentarians get behind these measures. These are measures that we can deliver because our fiscal situation is strong, but we need to deliver because Canadians certainly need this support.
Yeah, I think they need the support for more than a couple of months. I mean, that's kind of insane there. Right. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about that. And to wrap up this video, we're going to take a look at this story of, if I can find it here, where the protesters outside of Pierre Poilievre's driveway and what that looked like, because they did talk about that in the House today. Let me just find it up, or pull it up here. There you go, I've got it. This is craziness. This is encouraged, by the way. These protesters have been encouraged by the Liberals to go and protest outside of Pierre Poilievre's house, where his wife and his kids reside. Kind of shady if you ask me. Politicians encouraging radical protesters to go outside. Like, what if Pierre did that? What if Pierre or other politicians said, hey, go protest outside of Karina Gould's house or Freeland's house, see what they think of that? Are you kidding me? They've already been talking about increasing security for politicians, and now you got liberal politicians that are wanting these people to show up outside of politicians' houses. Let's take a look at this.
Because, like, I've been working on climate change for 30 years. I've got 2 kids. I'm not going to sit silently by while a would-be Prime Minister promises to rip up Canada's climate protection plan so oil companies can make a few more years of profits. We are currently locked down in Pierre Poilievre's driveway, Stornoway, the public housing that the government of Canada provides for him as leader of the opposition. We're here to make sure that he recognizes Canadians are not going to stand by while he gives bonuses to oil executives in the form of a free pass on pollution, while the rest of us pay the costs in wildfires, storms, flooding, the costs of climate change that are getting bigger every year because politicians like Pierre Poilievre aren't acting on climate change. Every politician needs to do more, but Poilievre wants to take us backwards. We could have an election any day, and right now Pierre Poilievre is leading in the polls. We want Canadians to know that he is here to protect polluters, not people. He's not working for the rest of us. He's working for the oil executives at Exxon and Suncor who are making big bonuses because we're paying so much for energy when we should be putting heat pumps in every home, making sure people have transit that works, transitioning to electric vehicles. It's cheaper for us, it's going to be better for our cost of living, and it's going to avoid the worst impacts of climate change, because we can't do that if we don't make the biggest polluters, oil and gas companies, do their fair share to address this problem that they've been the biggest source of causing. We've been here since 7 a.m. We're going to stay here as long as we can. And, you know, this isn't going to be the last time. If Pierre Poilievre comes out and talks to us, I would love that. I want to talk to him about why he would possibly want to give all these gifts to big polluters.
Get the fuck away from his house. Get the fuck away from his house, you bug-eyed freak. What the hell's the matter with you? You just show up to somebody's house and you're like, I demand to speak with you or else I'm going to camp outside your house? What the hell's the matter with you? Get the fuck away from his house, you nut job. You have kids and this is how you're acting? Bro, get the fuck away from Pierre Poilievre's house and go seek therapy, you nut job.
And do nothing for people who are being hurt by climate change right now. And our kids are going to be hurt even worse in the future. Pierre Poilievre moves around in a bubble. It's very hard to get to him. I actually went to one of his climate change rallies. I tried to hold up a sign saying "Act on Climate Now." I had an invitation to come to one of his Acts of Tax rallies. I went there. I held up a banner saying "Act on Climate Now." I got tackled by security so hard my keys went flying across the floor.
And he didn't learn his lesson. He takes pride in joy in this. This is somebody who's never been punched in the face. Look at this privileged white male. You're a privileged white male. You're laughing at the fact that you went to the next Prime Minister's rally, held up a controversial banner to get a stir up, and you got it. You got tackled, and you're laughing. Bro, leave before you do something that is irreversible, you bug-eyed freak. Go seek help. You can go to BetterHelp. I'm not even sponsored by BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com or betterhelp.ca or whatever and seek fucking therapy, buddy. Are you kidding me? You're freaking weird. You're an actual weirdo.
And I got thrown out of the building because I was saying something he said you aren't allowed to say. That is, we need to act on climate change. We need to do that for protect people from the wildfires, from the heat waves, from the floods, these are all going to keep getting worse until we get off of fossil fuels. Our best scientists are telling us we actually have the technology to prevent the worst impacts of climate change, but we can't do that unless we make the biggest polluters, the oil and gas companies, do their fair share to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It's going to make life more affordable. It's going to make life safer. And right now, Pierre Poilievre, it wants to give big polluters a free pass. And
hold on. I see the gate behind him. Is he literally in the driveway? Can you block somebody's driveway like that? Like, what would happen if the gate's open and Pierre Poilievre drives a jacked up 4x4 truck and says, you're on my property. Like, you're blocking him on his own property. Bro, that's insane. And the cops are allowing this? Am I missing something here? What the hell is wrong with Canada? Seriously, this shit doesn't make any sense. Are you freaking kidding me? This bug-eyed freak is like, look, there's the gates back there. I don't know why I didn't see that before. I thought, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on?
the rest of us are going to pay the cost. Pierre Poilievre has said he's going to scrap the oil and gas emissions cap. He's going to scrap the clean fuel standard. He's going to scrap the clean electricity regulation. He's going to get rid of the Impact Assessment Act. Every major policy that we have in this country to fight climate change, he has said he's going to get rid of. And that's a gift to polluters that, is Donald Trump sized. The wildfire.
I'm going to go rev my truck right after this. I'm going to go rev my truck just for fun after this. Because fuck you, weirdo. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go turn my truck on. And I'm just going to rev it. I might go to an empty parking lot. We got a little bit of snow. I might just do donuts for fun. Just for fun. Because of you. Get a life. Get a life. Get a life. I got a Dodge. Yeah, I got a 1500 Dodge. I'm gonna go rev it just for fun. I don't care. It might cost me $25. Might cost me $100. We're getting a GST rebate, so I have $250 worth of fun revving I can do just to piss these people off. That's right. You know what? I'm taking the super chats from the live stream and I'm just putting that towards the gas fund, and I'm just going. I'm not even gonna go anywhere. It's going to be in park. It's going to be in park, and I'm just going to rev my engine. What the frig is going on?
Are something I think everyone's beginning to recognize are linked to climate change. Those are driving Canadians from their homes. But there's so many other ways that climate change is making life more expensive for everyone. If you really care about making life more affordable, you are going to have an aggressive plan to get us off of fossil fuels, onto clean energy, avoid the worst impacts of climate change while bringing down energy bills. I would love for Pierre Poilievre to come out here, maybe eat an apple, and we can talk about climate action, because he's a man who has promised the oil companies to give them their dream list of policies, and that is betraying everyone else in this country.
Yeah, I would love to see Pierre Poilievre go out there and knock you right in the kisser. Pow! Right in the kisser. Come on, give me a break. Dude, I'm going to go rev my engine just for fun, folks. I swear I'm going to do that right now. So we're going to wrap this up so I can go have some fun. That drives me bananas. That bug-eyed freak is just sitting there asking for trouble. Like, that shouldn't be allowed. Are you kidding? He's trying to dox Pierre Poilievre. Like, he's trying to cause a ruckus like that. Come on, man. No way that guy should be allowed there overnight. Are you kidding me? There's no freaking way. He shouldn't be allowed there, period. But he certainly should not be allowed there overnight. And if somehow he is, there better be a police presence. There better be a police presence. Come on. Anyways, folks, that's where we're going to end this live stream. Let's all go rev our engines. Let's go have some fun, huh? Matthew Galligan with a 10. That's going right to gas. Let's go rate the gas. $10. I think YouTube takes 30%. So $7 worth of gas. I can go have some fun for $7 worth of gas in my Dodge. There's no justification for that protest in front of his house. Take your Coke bottle glasses and grow up. Imagine if people were in front of your house doing the same. Dude, it's like when paparazzi would stake outside of people's houses. And people had to have their blinds closed in order to avoid, like, that's just, that should not be allowed. That's creepy. That's stalking. He's stalking the next Prime Minister of Canada. Are you kidding me? That's nuts. Your place of work, you're a politician, you want to go protest and heckle politicians outside of Parliament buildings, government buildings, sure. But their home, that's a line. That's a line that got crossed. That's the line that got crossed. I'm interested to see how this gets handled. I bet you Pierre and his kids aren't even going to go to that house. They probably sent someone to get some belongings and like, yeah, no, we're not. It's not safe there right now. It's not safe. You don't know what his motives are. Somebody's going to go to that extent to stand outside of Pierre's house to sit on the pavement of the driveway and say, I got tackled. I got tackled at a rally. Big bug eyes. I got tackled at a rally. That shit's not okay, man. People like that need to be punched straight in the kisser. Not by me. No. I don't condone that. No. But somebody, somewhere, theoretically, in Minecraft, right? In Minecraft. Anyways, folks, that's where we're going to end this live stream. Hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow, is it Wednesday today? No, it's Thursday. It's Thursday, right? Yeah, it's Thursday. So I don't stream normally on Fridays. I don't stream normally on Fridays, but I probably won't tomorrow. I don't know if you're waiting for me to say, but I will tomorrow. No, that was a weird alley-oop to myself. I'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. Likely, I'm not going to stream tomorrow, but you never know. You never know. We'll see. That's right. By the way, no pants today. No booty shorts, just some boxers. See you guys later. See you on Monday. Bye for now.